Revolution. How are you guys going to beat SKT?
Mooney is going to drop it. He's not going to find the trade kill. Got a bit close, but Iboy getting his first kill of the game. For 2 kills for SKT. Looking for the third clear one. He's clearly going down. A double kill for Bang. Bang goes out, gets ulted back. Nice shot from the back line. Will they get him? It's so close. Iboy with a flash ball, and Baker gets with the auto. Doesn't even
끝까지 와서 사람들이 기억한다고 생각은 안 하고 더 높은 곳 올라가서 꾸준히 좋은 모습 보이면서 해야지 기억해 주실 것 같아요.
Beating in there as well. He is deservedly unstoppable.
8강에 올라온 것만으로도 대단하다고 생각하고요. 근데 작년에 저희가 결승을 갔으니까 저희가 만족하려면 결승까지 가야 되지 않을까 싶습니다.
상대가 북미 팀인데 중국의 분위기가 오히려 그런가요?
Worlds is definitely the best place to prove yourself as a player. I just want to show that I can step up against these world class players and show them how to play the game.
The opinions about me are either really negative or really positive. Even though I've had a lot of world appearance, I just have to prove myself over and over every time.
Playing the quarterfinals, it's been a success from us, but I don't want just to stop there. If we beat SKT, we're gonna make our names and everyone will remember us.
SKT 그냥 이름 자체로만 해도 우승이라는 타이틀에 좀 많이 가깝잖아요.
我觉得从小组赛走到8强、4强，这些都只是一个过程。不管是什么体育运动，大家记得永远都是冠军。
Welcome to Guangzhou, China for Worlds 2017. You join us as we open the next chapter of the tournament live from our new home for the quarterfinals, the Guangzhou Gymnasium. 8 teams remain in the battle for the Summoners Cup, and only one best of 5 separates them from experiencing Shanghai on the stage or in the stands. And as you can see, we've moved cities, and the fandom has followed. The Chinese crowd proving to be a very loud one here in Guangzhou. 2 teams battling it out today. Let's send it over to Rengdan here in Guangzhou Gymnasium to introduce the teams as they take the stage.
大家好，我是任栋。接下来，让我们一起请出2017英雄联盟全球总决赛4分之一决赛的2支战队，欢迎战队登场。首先，让我们欢迎的是红方来自于 LCK 赛区的3星战队
Samsung Galaxy. Challenging perhaps the tournament favorites today, but let's not forget that they were finalists just last year.
打野 Ambition， 中路 Prom， 下路 Ruler， 辅助 CoJJ。 同样欢迎他们的教练吴邦 Choi 以及替补打野 Haro。 再次感谢3星战队的到来。接着，让我们欢迎的是蓝色方 LCK 1号种子龙珠战队。
Tournament favorites, the only regional 1 seed to qualify through to the knockout stage with a 6-0 dominating group stage performance.
上路看，打野 Kurtz， 中路 BDD。 下路 Prey， 辅助 Gorilla， 同样欢迎他们的教练江苏 Kim 以及替补上单 Raska。 次感谢龙珠战队的到来。英雄智主传奇比赛现在开始。
Guangzhou and Samsung Galaxy, the first two teams to take to the stage here in Guangzhou for the quarterfinals. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, joined by my day one quarterfinal crew, Martin DeFiscio Lunga, Alberto Crums Rengifo, and Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley. We've moved cities. I'm glad to see y'all made it. No one missed their flights, but how are we doing? We ready for some knockout action?
I'm pretty ready. Like, looking at this one, Longshu versus Samsung. A lot of people will favor Longshu, but I mean, Samsung here, they will show up, I think at least. They will at least bring something to the table.
What we know is that on the day, anything can happen. It was proved during group stages. You do get a best of 5 here to prove it. We'll see what happens. It's not just us delivering you the next stage of Worlds, though. We're joined by our international broadcast partners who help to bring the action to regions all across the globe. And as we enter the next stage of Worlds, let's go ahead and get an update on the championship prize pool. The stakes have been raised thanks to you guys at home. Currently, the total prize stands above $4 million with more than $1.8 million drawn from championship Ash and Ward sales. A reminder that 25% of those sales will continue to add to the prize pool, with another 25% being added to charity. Now you can add to the competition by raising money, raising money for a good cause by picking up your in-game swag today. As we move into the best of 5s, let's get a reminder of how the knockout stage draw played out. First up, we've got our best of 5 today, which pits Longshu versus Samsung Galaxy. Then Misfits hope to continue their Worlds run as they face the reigning champions, SK Telecom T1. Rounding out the top side of the bracket, RNG take to the stage opposite Fnatic, with Team WE squaring off against Cloud9 on the final day of quarters.
And it's going to be a really good match. It's crazy to think, as you said, this is a finalist from last year. Everyone is saying that Longshu should smash it, but Samsung has shown that their preparation is excellent, and I'm very excited for the game today.
Without a doubt, 4 exciting best of 5s on our way as stakes continue to rise at the World Championship. Here are some of the players that we believe will be fundamental in finding success in Guangzhou. Here are our best of the rip, brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. For quarterfinals, it's Samsung Galaxy's top laner Kube, SKT's Huni, Fnatic's mid laner Caps, and Team WE's Mystic. First up, playing today, it's Samsung Galaxy's Kube.
And Kube has been one of the best top laners in the LCK, arguably the best top laner here in the tournament, playing a lot of carries. However, this tournament, he just has not had enough time to shine through. So if Samsung is going to put up that fight against Longshu today, it's going to come off the back of him and his team enabling him.
And I think because Khan plays all those carry top laners, Kube is someone with that high variance coming out of Khan on those carries who could take over a game and could be that star who changes the series.
He was a top performer for the team last year. They're going to need him to be this year if they want to move on in the tournament. Next, we have SKT's Huni, who's been silently pressuring the top lane for the reigning champs.
Yeah, and I've been very impressed with Huni so far because he gets a lot of time in the side lanes, he gets a lot of resources, and he's using them very well. He's getting towers. He's also joining teamfights being extremely strong because, again, he is so farmed. And the fact that Huni is going back to the style we used to see from SKT back at MSI and also back in Springs, but where he can be more of a carry, actually benefits him, gives him another weapon.
He's also shown the ability to pull off the split push styles when you think about against Cloud9, getting solo kills on impact, taking down turrets, taking down inhibitors. He has been able to flex his muscles in those side lanes as well as team fights.
Now alongside Huni is Fnatic's Caps, who was crucial in allowing his team to pull off the miracle run out of groups.
One of the new European mid laners obviously came into Fnatic here this year and have actually been doing much better doing Worlds than I expected. I thought there would still be issues for him in terms of decision making or being over aggressive when he shouldn't be it. He's actually done really well, especially week 2. I love the synergy we're starting to see between him and the rest of the team, and he's so important for Fnatic.
Oh, he's so important to the point that every time that they have a win, his stats go through the roof, but every time a loss, Caps just doesn't seem to be there, so the team is quite bipolar in their performance, and it hinges on him.
Perhaps the linchpin for success for that squad. Joining Caps is another player who was able to make the run from play-ins to quarters. It's Team WE's Mystic.
And it's been all uphill since the play-in. Mystic has been getting better week in, week out. WE plays so heavily through the bot lane that their success is based on this player, and he has been crushing it in lane, best CSD in the tournament for a bot lane marksman, and he's so good in the mid and late game team fights as well.
Good enough to make the final?
Good enough to make semifinal.
I guess it's something. It's something.
All right, there's the call. I don't have to ask you for your prediction then when that series comes around. We'll see if these players can book a trip to Shanghai this weekend. From the first CS to the Flame Horizon, you can follow the best of the Rift in more places than ever before. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Now, as we look towards our matches this weekend, it's important to point out that we saw a significant addition to the world's meta towards the end of Week 2 groups in Caitlyn.
Exactly. Caitlyn came in because a lot of dual lanes were playing, like Relic Shield AD carries. Twitch was in there as well, then Janna Lulu. So you had these super bad early game dual lanes that you could really punish with a strong laner. So Caitlyn made it back into the meta because she can push, she can take towers, and these supports like Janna and Lulu can't really engage on her and punish her.
And she's been so effective as kind of that bot lane counter pick, 4-0 in the tournament so far, always picked as an answer, not blind so far. And when people are going full late game, you can swing the game completely around, push for these siege comps, and just crush through your opponents, get enormous gold leads before they're ever ready to fight.
Well, we did hear that Caitlyn seemed to be so oppressive that people were either banning it or just having to first pick it, but I do think that we're going to see some variation where teams figure out, just as Caitlyn was an answer to the late game meta, what is now the answer to the Caitlyn. We have Ashe, we have Varus, which today is going to happen as Prey and Ruler love those two picks.
Or we might see some teams say, okay, we need a really strong mid laner that can push and roam down to the bottom lane, because Caitlyn will, of course, overextend when she's trying to hit that tower. But you got to find an answer, because right now, she's on average 1,500 gold ahead of the other AD carry at 15 minutes. That's crazy.
So let's remember that last year, it was the MF support pick that came out in response to Zyra during the knockout stages of Worlds. The question is, what would be the response here to a Caitlyn pick?
Well, the Ashe right now seems to be the one that is the #1 pick into it. She's got a great laning phase, and you typically force a cleanse out of your bottom lane because you don't want to get engaged on, so you do hinder that 2v2 potential, and you also slow down her pushing, as she has to be more aware of Ashe.
I definitely want to see Varus also as one of the picks being used against it, and as I said as well, you need some sort of aggression from your mid and jungle, so that when this Caitlyn is just permanent pushing, you can actually go down and gank her and kill her, and then if you kill her once or twice in lane, all her value is kind of gone because she's not killing that tower and her mid game is extremely weak.
Also very excited to see if the Caitlyn is going as one of those early picks, what else is going to change? You know, if people are bringing in Ashe, that's less damage from the rest of your comp. You know, you don't have that hyper carry in the late game, so maybe you need more damage junglers, more damage tops, and the complete meta can shift.
With this in mind, let's focus in on today's matchup. We've got Samsung Galaxy versus Longzhu, and it's we have to remember, rather, that both of these teams played before that Caitlyn pick even made its showing.
And they've played even further than that. All summer long in the LCK, they have battled it out, and they have split series. But if you kept track of how these games have gone by, it has been all an upswing for Longzhu. And BDD here, or rather Prey, has been one of the pillars for this team, as he allows the backbone of the team to be so strong that Khan and Cuz can just take over with BDD.
And even in the final season, a final split of the LCK, you know, they did 2-0 Samsung. They looked extremely dominant there, and you know, Samsung had struggles in groups. Longzhu did not. They have been looking so good.
All right, well, we talk about the differences in styles between these two teams, right? Samsung Galaxy, Longzhu. Let's hash that out a bit.
Well, we have Samsung, who is a very defensive team. They want to not do too many things in the early game, not take big risk, and then go to late game and try and win through big late game team fights, or you may be messing up at Baron and they punish you. Longzhu, on the other hand, it's much more focused on the early game, try and be more aggressive, get the advantages, especially also through the top lane, and that's why Cube is one of the guys we're looking at now on the screen, because he's one of the answers to Longzhu's way of playing in the early game.
And every time Cube and Khan have faced off, it actually has been the one time that Khan can't really just smash this lane. He has been able to keep up. At times, he's been able to actually do the reverse to Khan and just win games off him. So this matchup is so crucial for both these teams to allow them to have a strong pick, a strong 2v2 in the jungle, and then snowball the game early on. That's where I think it's going to be dictated.
I mean, that said, within this tournament, Khan seems to be the one guy that has an answer to everything, right? We saw the Nash's pick come out in the face of a Maokai, so has an answer to the tanks, is willing to play the carries. It's a tough task, right, to go up against a guy of this caliber.
I mean, that's a problem when you play against Longzhu and they're like superstar players in every single lane at the moment. But still, Khan, he is a guy who will overextend. And I think if you have like a very active jungler in this game here from Samsung, if you have QA on a good champion who can actually punish Khan, you can definitely try and shut him down when he is split pushing and get that top lane advantage.
All right, well, with those factors in mind, who do you think is going to be the first team to book a trip to Shanghai? Down the line, Officio, starting with you.
I'm going Longzhu. I was originally on 3-0 for Longzhu, but I went back, I looked even more at Samsung, and I'm like, you know what? It's a 3-1.
Okay.
Well, I think stylistically, Longzhu actually counters a lot of what Samsung wants to do, because you got to shut down Longzhu early. Samsung can't really do it. I do think they have at least one game where they get a counter pick top maybe and get QV rolling. Maybe they get a Caitlyn bot lane and they can win bot side. Or they just have the better late game team fight and they actually stall it past 40 minutes. But again, it's one game only.
Looking at preparation from Samsung Galaxy to
There are
buy
a few
them a
win
win
conditions.
somewhere. All right, Crumbs, what are you thinking?
I'm actually with the fishy on this as well. I was initially 3-0, but then 3-1 because not just preparation. We've only really seen one best of 5 series from Longzhu, and when they typically faltered, especially against Samsung, it has been in that draft when they kind of overstep their boundaries and Samsung punishes it. So I think that they're going to be able to do that again. It's best of 5. It's going to happen one time at least.
A sliver of hope given to the Samsung Galaxy roster from these guys. Azale, what do you think?
I'm breaking the trend from the rest of these sheeple. I think it's still going to be a 3-0, and it's because of what Martin actually talked about. Yes, you can get, I think, a counter pick or a good matchup for Cuvée in the top lane, but it's dependent on the 2v2. Ambition has 0 kills and 0 assists in 75 minutes of gameplay pre-15 this tournament. That is abysmal, and when you talk about that jungle at 2v2, he's not doing anything in the early game. I feel like he needs to get involved in the early game for them to have any chance. So unless Ambition can show some serious change here, I think Longzhu gets ahead early and they run away with it.
All right, well, that's what our analysts had to say. And if we look at how the pick'ems played out, Longzhu were chosen to come out ahead in 83% of all of the pick'ems. So it seems to be mirrored in the community sentiment. All right. Well,
Great job, everyone.
So proud of you guys. With the riff set, let's send it over to Freak, Papa Smithy, and Kobe to bring us into our first quarterfinal match.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Caster Desk. My name is David Freak Curley, joined here with 2 amazing people. Over on the far side, Chris Papa 55th, and to my right most closely, Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler. How you guys doing?
Extremely excited. I finally get to be an LCK caster with Papa Smithy here.
We get to cast good. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm not sure about the predictions. They're very one-eyed predictions. Longzhu 3-1, Longzhu 3-0. Kind of the story when you talk to basically anyone around Worlds has been Longzhu's dominance. And I'm in that weird spot where I'm like, okay, Longzhu probably the best early game team at the group. They also been the team that has come back from the biggest deficit. So 1 + 1 = 2 Longzhu victory. I can understand. But Samsung Galaxy's ability to craft new compositions, to innovate, to rise to big games. The KT 3-0 that got them here to Worlds, beating SKT 2-0 after Rift Rivals, after both SKT and Samsung were called into question for their losses at that tournament. They can get themselves up for big games, and this is the definition of a big game.
Exactly. Best of 5s are a completely different story, and that innovation that you're talking about is exactly what we want to see from this Samsung squad, because as a lot of the predictions are pointing towards, this is definitely a Longzhu favored series. And this is definitely a very big opponent to try and take down this early.
And it's also the one series where, remember, it is Korea versus Korea. These teams have faced in the LCK, as the analyst desk talked about. It's not just going to be Worlds meta. There is going to be the fact that Cuvée, of all top laners in Korea, actually was the one to step up to the plate and make life hard for Khan in the top side. Smeb couldn't do it. Other great top laners like Huni couldn't do it. Cuvée was the best performing top laner against him. So there is still even individual matchups that could swing in the favor of Samsung.
Absolutely. I mean, Cuvée is absolutely an exceptional player. He's the most long-standing member of this iteration of Samsung Galaxy. He's been there since the 2015,
They were dark times, Rick, dark times.
Well, I understand they were dark times, but he's stuck around and he's become such an incredible talent. He's been a widely respected top laner, both within Korea and internationally. Samsung Galaxy were world finalists and 1 game away from winning the entire thing last time. Same starting 5 as that finalist against SKT. See if they can do it here.
Longzhu coming in the 1 seed, had choice of selection for game 1. Very interestingly, you note they are not on red side. Longzhu famously, you think, really worried about that last pick on the red side as a Khan counter pick. They've actually chosen blue. So are they trying to prioritize something? It is interesting to note that of all teams, Longzhu have chosen blue when they have the option.
And interesting as well, coming out very early on with the Galio ban here, that is something that VDD has used extremely effectively, and he has only, besides that, played the Talia, played the Rise here at the World Championship so far. These roaming champions and really affecting the rest of the map very early on. The mid lane matchup is definitely one that should be highlighted here.
Definitely loves to cut top side with a global, with a semi-global, and help those advantageous pushing matchups for Khan. But there will be last pick for the side of Samsung, and one of those big picks for Khan, of course, the Jace, is actually a first-round ban. They don't want to deal with it at all.
Yeah, it's fun looking at the difference in play scores of all these players. You talk about a couple of one marksman being down 2 of the supports as well. Zaya grabbed up right away. Of course, you can never give away Zaya Rakan as a duo.
Yeah, Zaya Rakan, definitely want to break that one up. Talking to the teams for a very long time, for months and months, Zaya and Rakan has been the power couple that you cannot really give over here. Interesting that we do have some bottom lane focus super early on, because as they highlighted earlier with the AR display, Prey and Gorilla are such a huge part of how Longzhu win, but they're not the big carries of the team that demand a lot of resources like people usually think of when you think of star players. Send all the early ganks there, get them fed and carry. Part of their biggest strength is that they demand almost no early game resources.
That definitely means they shoot up the tier list, as you say, because the jungler never goes there, and yet they win, or at worst go even. Speaking of junglers, this is the CC duo. We actually Rakan and Sejuani very highly prioritized on the side of Samsung. Note that it was actually taken over the Jarvan that we well know is a flex pick for the side of Longzhu.
There are so many synergies with this combination here. Rakan does get to stack those Sejuani passive stacks up as well, and the two initiators really work well off of each other. This is very promising, honestly.
Hey! Longzhu gonna buck the trend. Only Misfits so far, since the group stage, have opted out of an Ardent sense of support. Longzhu saying, you know what, Misfits, Europe, we like what you've done here. Aggro supports it is.
Yeah, banning away the Janna, of course, expecting a Lulu answer and taking the Thresh, one of the famous picks for Gorilla. Played this in the grand final of the LCK, won MVP, was a carry performance on the Thresh, and this is already a different draft than we would have imagined.
This is very exciting and very heartening. You know, Gorilla always is talking about how he loves being on the front lines. He's a playmaker. Him and Prey are the senior members of this squad, and if they get to have their hands on the crowd control, on the initiation tools, then it removes that split second where you have to have that extra layer of communication about going for engagement.
Yeah, a disengaged support meta was one of the few things when you're evaluating Longzhu pre-tournament, you're like, wait, Gorilla can't do the initiating, the rookie Cuz has to come in and be an initiator, maybe that'll hurt them. Certainly didn't in the group stage, they got to 6-0, but it could have been a hiccup in a high-pressure best-of-5. Small note, this is actually only Cuz's second career best-of-5. Khan also to BDD3, certainly not best-of-5 experience to speak about for most of Longzhu.
All right, let's catch up a little bit on the bans coming through here as Longzhu are targeting the top lane. And remember, when Jarvan is picked early for Longzhu, that has usually been a Khan champion, when Khan is in the game. I mean, we're always used to...
It's like 15-1 Khan versus Cuz playing the champion.
Exactly. That's why more of these jungle bans, the Gragas ban here from Samsung did come in, because they're very much assuming that it's going to be a top lane Jarvan.
So you'll see a Malzahar, not the first time Crown has played it. It's a blocker pick to Ryze, which has been BDD's go-to mid laner. He has traditionally been playing a lot of Ryze once that's semi-global. If he does go with the Syndra, they already have Rakan, who's one of the best at those immobile threats and shutting them down. There's Sejuani as well. We'll go for Syndra for the laning matchup, but denied roam potential from mid, which is almost always a core tenet of a Longzhu victory.
At the very least, we're definitely going to get a new champion for BDD here at World Championship. Syndra is locked in.
Blind Jax in the top lane for Khan. We were promised he'd play the champion. He'd played it about 5 times in Korea this split. Finally brings it out to Worlds.
And he blind picked it in this same setup on blue side against Samsung in that deciding last game of the season. Laning focus here for sure. So we went away from the Chogats, the Maokais. We're going straight for the skill matchups, and Jax blind. Oh boy.
What even is the metagame anymore? This is exciting. Ken and Jax top lane, no Ardent Sense for the blue side. I love Korea.
Things get so interesting so quickly here with these last 2 picks, because Kennen with this range matchup against Jax are going to want to try and abuse that earlier. So immediately our eyes are turning towards that the top triangle of the map, and you would think that both bottom lanes will be operating without jungle pressure, which, as we said before, is where Prey and Gorilla have shined through. Now it's going to be a lot about, will Ambition actually be able to step up in that early game? As they talked about on the analyst says, he hasn't created much early on, but a Kennen pick into a Jax, you need to.
And it's not only about Cuz when you're trying to evaluate the helpers on the side of Longzhu, because we've had a meta where it was disengaged and Khan was kind of caught on Jarvan, Judy, on more traditional picks outside of the Nasus. You bring in Thresh and suddenly the roam potential is there from Gorilla. You can open up some more of the carry picks. He's going back to that carry pool. This is the Khan we saw in Korea. Korea. Let's see if it can be vintage Khan in game 1 of this series.
Well, we saw Khan in Korea. We actually saw him drop to a Kuve Kennen game a while ago, back the first time they lost to the team. So we'll see what it comes down to on this one. It's going to be all kinds of fun watching both these squads go at the best of 5. I want to see if it's ability power or attack damage Kennen. AP build got buffed partway through the summer split. We've seen a fair bit of that in Korea, but not a lot other places. So definitely excited to see what flavor we get from both these teams here in game 1 of this best of 5. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, and ladies and gentlemen, quarterfinal 1 of the 2017 League of Legends World Championship starting right now. Best of 5, winner makes top 4, and it is the South Korean champions of Longju Gaming taking on the former Worlds runner-ups, Samsung Galaxy.
And my favorite sub-story of this Worlds is how fast the patch adaptations have happened. We've been on 719 the entire time, but the meta has evolved every week. The analyst desk was talking about the Caitlyn quick push, the lane priority we saw on the last 2 days of the group stage was actually after these two teams played. They, in secret, have been able to evaluate that meta and also innovate. The carries are back, the Thresh is back. It seems if Lulu Jana are off the board, people are starting to roll the dice with some more creative stuff.
With us in spirit, at least, the TSM chants out of the Chinese crowd. Love how they've been so far at Worlds. One thing I also find very interesting is you talk about teams reacting to the meta game and preparing for it. I wonder how much this was pre-planned in the first place, saying we're going to save our strategies until tougher opponents. And they knew all along what the real champions should be. They said, all these Janna picks, that's cute. Bandit, of course, they did here. But either way,
yeah,
strategy.
I was going to say, not really fair if Jen and Lulu are both banned.
Of course.
Oh, they didn't pick Jen and Lulu.
But Tarek and Ivern and Nidalee and these other Ardent Sense users, of course, have been seeing a lot of play. So certainly, I agree, both these teams seem to give them a lot of respect. But out those top 2, the world seems to open up.
All right, bottom lane start here for both junglers, and they both get those bottom lane pulls. So they very well could end up early presence on the top side, the action where we're looking for. The thing about this Kennen pick is, yes, you can go for auto attack, harassment, then drop into a brush to try and drop your minion aggro and try and zone off early. But if Jax does get those ganks early on from a Jarvan, he's well equipped to interrupt Kennen quite frequently. And if you get that early kill, snowballing definitely becomes very, very difficult to deal with later on.
It was actually Jax versus Nara in that final matchup. It's kind of a similar matchup, really, if you think about it. Early ganks, level 3. It's actually level 2 coming through from Cuz here.
As you can see, totally suspected here from Samsung with the early ward. They see Cuz make his visit over, and Ambition should know that he's coming through to the jungle to look for him as well. That's why he's pulling the Raptors back into a very safe territory over here. And even with the machete start, he is going for the small Raptors.
A lot of punishment coming through from Cuz as well. I guess I've got a 200 HP. Ambition's got to be a bit careful, but no cooldowns available means he can't chase any farther. No kill to be had. Takes away about half the Raptor camp.
And this is Longju. What I noticed the most looking over their VODs is they play around priority the best of any team at this tournament. You know that if they have a pushing mid lane and a pushing top lane at whatever time in the game, right now at 3 minutes, you know Cuz will invade, get down deep vision, challenge Ambition. Actually, a small surprise I had was one thing I wanted to see Samsung adjust around their level 1s is that every time they play with Ambition, it's been a 5-point defense. They've never invaded for early wards. When you have a potentially high gank top laners, a lot of harass goes over to Crown. I thought they'd look for information about the Jarvan, but they only got it late after he started invading Samsung's jungle.
Right now, Crown can feel a bit safe. Right now, BDD is out of mana, so that threat is much lower. With 200 health, he should be completely fine. His reflexes should be enough to flash right for any Jarvan gank, so Crown will be allowed to lane, but he is down far. Oh, I take it back! One more auto would have killed him, but he didn't have the wind-up available. BDD gonna force Crown out of lane. He has TP to get back, but that is a nice early lead with a giant farm lead, 25-12.
And there was a laundry list of things for Samsung to realistically be able to stake a claim against Longju, and Crown stepping up, returning to his spring levels was something we were looking for and already getting heavily pressured in lane.
And if you talk about returning to previous tendencies, yes, everybody's been all about praising BDD for roaming around the map, creating other plays, and he's really embraced that Taliyah and Galio meta. But this guy, so much of the excitement around him early on was about bullying his lane and crushing people in the 1v1 now that he has Syndra, it's on display.
Kobe, that was my struggle when it came to the top 20 players, when it came to Longzhu being right there in the top 6. How do you order them? Because this guy, the Zed God from these famous highlight plays before he turned 17, lane priority on CJ into roaming on Longzhu. You couldn't give him the benefit of the doubt because he hadn't shown that style working. He played some Zed, but they've lost those games. So seeing him now focus on lane is a new BDD, and if he does that just as well, oh boy, it's going to be fun.
Hit you down into the mid lane. Ambition coming around the backside. The 200 left on Crown. A bit of slows on a BDD. He's going to back off safely enough. Lane stays alive, but it's getting harder and harder for the Samsung Galaxy mid laner.
Remember, something that will become important as well, trying to clear out those Voidlings. They're very easy now after a couple of the nerfs to Malzahar were aimed at trying to take that power away from the support position. So just a couple of extra damage there will save you in many situations.
Remember, Crown teleported back to lane with an early back and then got DPS'd out by just Syndra and had to Ambition come and help him push. He doesn't want to have to back a second time, but it's a second back in the first 5 minutes for the Malzahar.
Here we go. Cuz has perfect timer on the Raptor camp since he was able to finish that one off Ambition's first time around. And the second clear of a Raptor camp, very important in trying to keep down a jungler. Ambition happened to just soak up that mid lane farm that you were talking about, Crown missing. However, Crown definitely going to be behind experience now, and that is a bad thing versus a Syndra who's looking to bully.
Spotted by the ward on the way, and you can look back at the top lane right here where Khan took an early recall for some extra potions. Boots in his Doran shield and all that. Now into the top side, looking for a bit more. His stun's going to be able for a few more seconds, though. Kube still trying to run away. Should not be anything more to chase with. Lands his stun, gets some damage back, and Cuz, that half health could be in a counter if he stays around. You've got the Sejuani coming around. They did see Ambition earlier on a ward.
This is all very expected pathing for Cuz early on. If you look at not only the team tendencies, but also the champion select. Remember, early on, we're talking about the top lane triangle here, which does include mid lane. It's these bullying lanes for Longzhu. So Cuz has basically just been between mid and top, keeping up those pressure for these guys. To try and nullify the area of control here for Samsung.
And pressure's kind of been a dirty word for Ambition. Even when his team has had priority, he hasn't been doing little moments like you saw where he'll go and push in, try to get some vision, put down deep wards. He's actually just been focusing on farming, playing very defensively, even when his laners are doing good. Something not going to say that with the mid lane.
Flashes in, go! He knew the damage. BDD gets a solo kill the third time around, pushing Crown out of lane.
There's no teleport for him to get back. Afterwards, he gets the kill with almost a double stacked minion wave here. BDD absolutely in control of this game. This opens up Cuz to go steal away the blue buff, and Samsung are bleeding very early on.
Hype levels can only increase around BDD. One split at the top level, but already being able to solo down Crown. Has really had no answer. 2 camps easily. Sejuani, she has to be second to rotate. She has to take her time. No mid laner to help her out, and her bot lane under turret for almost the entirety of the laning phase.
And we talked so much about Samsung trying to struggle through the early game here and how that would be important in their winning in this series. But there's an Infernal Drake as well, and that is now going to be in Longzhu control because of this play right here.
Knowing your damage output is so important. You can see, got 500 health. Flashes for the Q already was in range, buffered the ultimate. Super clean, and Crown's face tells a story.
Yep, going to be able to pick up that spear that was previously down from the harassment for the extra damage there. And Crown shoves a wave, tries to immediately back here. Needs as many combat effective items as he could possibly scrounge together there. So he goes for the null magic mantle just to try and survive further.
I mean, there's not greed on either side. It was a Merc Treads rush after using his flash for BDD. He has the cleanse. You can understand going for something in the mana regen side, going for the Lost Chapter, going for the mana sustain. But he's just going to go for the safety because he knows AP Cannon, which is what we expect now. We already see the Hextech finish, the Sejuani and the Malzahar. Burst is a real possibility onto this.
Now the mid lane, the flashless Crown has no way out of the punishment here. Kind of goes and finally drops down, but a few more shots will do it. Not going to stay in range, so can't quite get the kill on the Crown. Look for the next play out of the bot lane. Not going to come through here either.
Yeah, I believe there's a few more seconds. Yeah, BDD's ultimate just comes up now. So, yes, the positioning was good for that gank, but he didn't quite have a timer on his ultimate to finish him off. Still, he's in a weakened state right now, though.
Right, Crown's at 600 health, and ulti could almost kill him. Of course, across the wall, they're going to go for this one. He's going to wait for the stun to land. Ulti pops across. Not enough to kill Cleanse Wave. The second stun comes in, and that's going to be BDD
following Ambition was waiting for the play, and the first time of Worlds 2017 Ambition does anything pre-15, he gets an assist for Crown.
And if you're going to compliment the young prodigy mid laner on the good moments, also have to call out the double turret shot. Unnecessary. First thought was to go back aggressive, get the trade kill. Wasn't able to get that, and cleaned up by Ambition.
Yeah, definitely BDD overextending there, and it was a bit too good to be true for him. You have to respect at least the comeback potential there of all the crowd control. You mentioned, yes, all the magic damage on Samsung, and that's one reason for the Merc Treads early. Again, all the CC here does give options for Samsung trying to create plays like that.
Thing is, there was partial respect. They warded the Raptor camp itself, but it was Ambition across the other side of the trees, the other spot he could have easily hit in. Of course, they did guess wrong. Okay, shame on BDD, not counting all the options, but he had covered one of his 2 bases. There's that ward, and he's like, maybe I'm safe here.
All that being said, you do have to respect, like, this is suppression from Malzahar, and he knows this crowd control is coming, and he wants to save his cleanse for the cleansable, stunts from Ambition, and he wanted to go in for those turret shots because he, this time around, thought he would be able to calculate with 1 extra sphere to get the kill again. Not going to be the case. Then he also uses his E backwards there, doesn't hit Ambition, and looks a little bit funny.
And it's not really an escape rope from the laning phase either. You still notice that it's about 37, around 40 CS down for Crown. It was kill credit also over to Ambition. So it's not bailed out yet. He's going to need a couple more of those to rescue him from what has been a painful laning phase on the side of Samsung in the mid lane.
You talk about painful landing phase, and you'd feel like Jackson to Kenna would be rough, but Khan holding on pretty nicely, only down 9, but Ambition now wants to make it a bit more difficult. Looking for the top lane play. Kube pulls Aggro first, only comes across, trying to dodge the auto attack, but will it be enough for Samsung? Galaxy could be holding Aggro, letting Ambition go for the duel, but he can't do enough damage. Gonna try again, but he pulls Aggro with Khan. Could pick him up, one more attack will slay him. The pass are gonna try to time out. Oh, but Ambition charges him back for it, and a 2-0 start for the Samsung jungle.
And the trade on the bottom lane for Longzhu here is going to be rushing down for the first turret gold bonus. Samsung, though, they did clean up the top lane kill, even though it was messy.
No flash available for Khan. Would have flashed for an auto, probably got the kill, but no cooldown on the Q either. Nice map movements means they do pick up the first turret blood, but there's going to be an answering turret for Samsung.
The lane priority going to keep that 350 extra gold from first turret on the Longzhu side, but this game you see now only 600 apart. And who would have guessed Samsung Galaxy to actually have the strong enough early game that they're actually up, or at least close, up in kills at the very least against Longzhu.
And it's always weird because I see this team obviously the most of anyone here, and I notice them, and there are still one-off games for Samsung. It's not really rhyme and rhythm to it. 1 out of every 10 games. Ambition is super active in the early games. It's usually the Rex side, but here he comes in. He knows Khan's flash is down. They trust on the damage. It almost lets him down.
Well, watch how Khan plays this too, because the beginning is so good. He dodges the first Winter's Wrath here. The second part does so much more damage. Well, let's jump into live, though.
There's no turret. What are they going to find on this one? Corte Day going to wait to try to find someone to jump to. Does get over the wall. No stun going to land just yet. A pretty mechanically strong escape, but 2 flashes down for the Samsung Galaxy duo. BDD used his.
BDD flashing in there, unnecessary, but you can see he's feeling the momentum. He wants to capitalize and course correct after his death earlier. It will return, and in all of this, there was an extra kill to Samsung on the top side. On the bot side, the Infernal Drake was taken for the side of Longzhu. Still is an objective, and they contest the blue as well.
All right, we need to reset a little bit here and revisit some of the things that Samsung can utilize to pry this game open, because again, so much of it was Samsung getting through the early game to the late game where they can try and construct these team fights. And again, in Champ Select, they brought so many of these crowd control tools that it's very much a look for the 5-on-5, land the Malzahar, Sejuani, and Kennen combination here with Core JJ at the front to be able to try and take down Longzhu in one fell swoop.
And Kobe, you can see here, I actually have a list of things I thought Samsung needed to really adjust, to change from the group stages if they didn't want to be overcome by Longzhu. And 2 of them in this game they have done. They have actually had control ward supremacy on the top side of the river multiple times to stop any of those roams from beating. It's not Tilly, it's a bit different, but keeping Syndra in lane is still going to be a priority for them. The other one there that I really wanted to see from them is also adjusting Ambition's playstyle. He's been a lot more active. He hasn't been this passenger in the early game. So seeing them adjust real core tendencies of the 5 games they've played with Ambition has been important, and it's not the same Samsung performance we saw in groups.
We'll see if this performance can continue for Samsung Galaxy, holding close to Longzhu and a team that wants to get into the late game. And you look at their team fight powers, and It all feels a bit Samsung favored. AP Cannon feels like he's going to do better in a 5-on-5 than a Jax. Malzahar with the suppression, I think likely to be in a similar boat here. So Longzhu hoping they can get some leads through Khan and make that split push work. So far, it's not been the case. That Jax has lost his turret as of about 3 minutes ago. At some point, he might come online. So far, not the case.
And because there is so much AoE magic damage here on the Samsung side, that's why we're seeing all these Merc Treads come through. They want the magic resist, they want the tenacity to try and be able to function in those scenarios. As you mentioned, Jax, especially early on, does not want any part of a 5-on-5. I mean, there's so much splash damage flying around that even the Cannon Ultimate really negates a lot of the effectiveness there. So that's why Longzhu are trying to keep Khan off on his own, and the other 4-man squad are trying to create these plays. We keep seeing bottom, they took the turret and dragon control, and they're trying to get more advantages in this area. It's actually very good for Longzhu that the next Drake is also an Infernal Drake, because they do want to retain control of this area and try and snowball there.
And a small point about the itemization changes we see is Ambition considering initiating. That was a bit of a missed one there.
It was ambitious.
That was a bit on the nose.
I know.
But what you do notice, remember, Sightstone completed early for Longzhu. Sightstone time has been way delayed in this meta when the people are rushing for the Ardent Sensor. So vision advantage around bot side always going to be there when you have access to more wards and Thresh can look for the plays. Late game, of course, as we know, the Ardent Sensor will come online now that it's finished. So there is different kind of breakpoints. The tug of war, the momentum goes up and down when split pushes, but also a vision advantage are in the game.
And you talk about the tug of war and the Ardent Sensor. Mathematically, Ardent Sensor is most valuable when it's first purchased. Champions don't have a lot of other stats. That 25 on hit damage means a lot more. This is like the largest power spike the core GJ will probably have all game, in the sense that now Ruler can do a whole bunch of damage and heals more than he ever would some other time. As time goes on, the actual value of this item will actually fall a bit and break to keep up.
And it also means that Samsung can change trading patterns in the 2v2 because they get that massive sustained increase with the on-hit lifesteal. You can walk up, take what looks like an even or maybe even a trade that's going the way of Longzhu, instantly lifesteal up to full, and then you control the wave with a health advantage.
Yeah, it's very easy to sing the praises of Ardent Sensor, boys, but let's talk about the Thresh pick and the good things that you can get with this pick. Because
how much lifesteal does it give you?
It's not all about
shield.
It's not all about the initiation of Thresh. We talk about Longzhu trying to keep the map a bit spread out here and trying to keep Jax, pressure point on that side lane. One of the biggest things and understated for Thresh is the Dark Passage and saving people, as we saw on display in the river, from the hard CC of Samsung. It's going to be so critical. A lot of times in the past, when we've had teams play 1-3-1, and Thresh was a huge part of it, the Thresh would trail through one of the lanes so that you would have an escape for your pressure point and a valve to kind of let that off. Currently, though, in the Fog of War,
out of the tank, though, not easy to kill Ambition. Knock him out of the back line, and Malzahar, he's going to flash away, so crowd out of the fight. Now the Cannon with the front line, look for Ambition. Getting lower and lower, 400 health, so taking attack. One more shot will do him in a prey. Gets him that kill. Now Ruler on the backside can't get the kill because he's going to stay alive through the satchel. And now looking for one more chase in. The Blasco going to get him a bit to safety. Thanks to Galaxy. Going to disengage. And Gube in the 1v3 finds the kill on the prey. Does he have more teammates around the hook to buy some time? One more shot, I'll do him in. Khan gets it. Gorilla knocked back to safety. Now Core JJ also cutting back against the shield. But Khan is on the chase. As soon as he gets the leap strike up, he gets himself the double kill. Now the push on for Ruler, flashing the stun. Gets himself another 2-2. Into this one, over the wall goes Khan, staying alive. Longzhu. I make that actually 3 kills to do. Now Khan on the backside with Ruler around him. But Crown ulti down, going to keep him alive. And that was quite the fight.
A really extended fight there. It was initiated by Longzhu. You were talking there, Kobe, about what the Thresh brings. It's also, hey, they've got a vision advantage with the Sightstone. They clear out some wards. Where's the Thresh at? Usually that's going to be pressure on Crown, but even in the grouping phase, they got the fight they wanted. They got the advantage, even though you'd think AP Cannon this early would rip through the team of Longzhu.
Exactly. This game is so much about item power spikes. Rather than looking at the gold on the scoreboard there, sometimes people are misled by who is currently ahead, but it's so much about what you've actually completed in your inventory. And that was one of the big points right there. We did see so much damage coming from this cannon. He is peaking on magic penetration right now. His ultimate does have very high effectiveness. Once you get post level 11 and you have your Leandries plus your Sork shoes, like there's just so much burst coming through.
Definitely going to be point of power. It's down about half.
Points available for both strongest. Smite blade comes in. Blue team picks up on. Grabs it off Ambition. Smite actually comes in a little earlier on that one. Now they've re-engaged the Giant. Then comes across and Prey, losing his life yet again. Out he goes, 4v5 in the chase for Samsung Galaxy. Will not find their next engage.
Ultimate was up for Crown, no way to interrupt him. Everyone on Longzhu backing away, so kill for an Infernal, just fine from the perspective of Longzhu. Second of the game already.
As long as they don't lose more, of course, mid lane going to be clear, but looking like maybe a Rift Herald attempt for Samsung Galaxy. No, it looks more like a reset.
Yeah, the fact that you still have wave clear available, a very safe wave clear, Syndra and Thresh both very well equipped to defend mid lane after, so it's just the one kill that is traded for this extra scaling bonus here. Another look at that little pocket of Fog of War, though, Papa Smithy talking about. Immediately, they try and get the shield off of the Malzahar, so he's a bit exposed. But Ambition is the target with all the damage. They take him down early, and Cuvée, once he arrives, it's a second story.
Yeah, the flank teleport was very deep. There wasn't a more apt ward to teleport onto. So he comes in, is able to pick up a kill, trades up his life. If the teleport ward was a bit more generous, a bit closer to the members of Longzhu, could have been an even 3 for 3, but ended up being a 3 for 2.
You saw Gorilla right there sneaking away with his life, just barely. The nice play to buy a little bit of time, and his earlier lantern had pulled Cuz to safety, and we saw Cuz got out with a nice flash, then using the satchel cone. We see the re-engage here.
You can see the replay. Actually ends up being a Drax auto attack of all things. Smite was used by Ambition, not by the jungle there on Longzhu, Cuz, as you say, the fight continued from there.
And a nice ultimate from Ambition does lock down that kill on the exit that you talked about. Prey getting annihilated there afterwards.
I'm just excited that the verbiage opens up when it's not just going to be front-to-back team fight versus front-to-back team fight, which AD carry can power through the front line faster. This is the sort of game where suddenly flank wards for Samsung at a huge premium. They do have an initiating AP burst mage in the cannon, so warding your flanks, control wards on the sides suddenly become more important. The split push is a very real win condition. Only Trundle has really represented that so far at Worlds 2017. So these old strategies that have always been in and out of the meta finally come back in one single game. So there's a lot of things to talk about.
Also, we have to talk about the next steps for these teams, because with so much focus early in the game on Magic and Magic resistance here for Longzhu because of all the AoE from Samsung, now is the point where we're breaking into the real attack damage threat. Ruler here, level 11 Tristana, the Infinity Edge is done, his first Zeal is done. You guys talked about the Ardent Sensor and the multiplicative stats that he's going to get there. This is where the extra...
Talking about stats in the front line, low health going tank, but look at the back line access out of Khan. And Khan's coming in for that one, and BDD gets the first kill to Core JJ support. Maybe not the best kill, but their jungler's dead, so 4v4. Prey looking for more, he's going to find himself that double kill as the opposing marksman is gone. Gorilla staying alive, the hook knocked by Galana Cuvée, and he can't get anything with a slicing Maelstrom, a whiffed ultimate out of the AP cannon as Khan chases for a bit more Ambition, likely to lose his life. One more shot, I'll duel him in, and yes, another trade of kills, 2 for 3, favor of Longzhu so far as Cuvée cutting back to the mid lane.
Gorilla with his dying breath stopped Cuvée from getting on top of his AD carry. The love between those two, eternal, keeps him alive. They do get the teamfight victory. Teamfight Jax, not a meme this time, actually worked fine.
And it's not him starting with the team, right? This is how you love to play any type of split pusher or assassin. It's coming in after so many of the key abilities have been used. When Jax teleports in, you know, the Malzahar ultimate is down, Kennen ultimate is down. He doesn't have to navigate Sejuani ultimate, all of those big CCs. Here we go as another look at the initiation. And as you said, Freak, I believe that flash ult from BDD was probably intended for Ruler, but then Ruler walks back into all the spheres and gets dunked.
Cuvée gives up his life to Cuvée trying to get into the backline, thinks he can pick up multiple kills. First the flay into the box, slowing down his time. Khan picks up the kill. Samsung want to rinse and repeat. They want control wards around the Baron and to look for the picks with the Nethergrass. It's going to have to be creative here from Longzhu to actually stop them just going for that, because Jax, like you say, doesn't want to group where possible, doesn't want to be one of the base checkers to get that vision.
Yeah, he likes to come in, pick up those straggler kills, and again, it has been an extra kill over to Longzhu in the past couple of skirmishes where they're able to get an objective as well as just a little bit extra on the end there. Now, though, we have to look at the teleports because it's 2 advantage for Samsung. They have the possibilities, you know, to create one of these fights. As we said before, one fell swoop, this big AoE that they're looking for, so many forms of hard CC, and if Khan is not there, then Longzhu would be punished.
And eventually to watch for wards, of course, the last fight around Samsung Galaxy thought they were hiding in a brush that was already warded out by Gorilla, so it wasn't a surprise. Now Khan gonna find Cuvée for the 1v1. The stun actually gets come out of Kennen, though, instead, and Khan not going to find more, and you can see a pretty equal trade of health.
And expectations are the moment that Khan hits 2 to 3 items, Cube will have a very tough time side laning. 80 cannon, which is what we saw the first time these two teams met right at the start of the season, is fine in a side lane auto-attacking. The AP cannon is outscaled a lot faster in the 1v1. So those teleport wards, the teleport plays, this game could be decided if one flank from Cuvée works around the 30 to 35 minute mark, or if it goes sideways, because if he gets nothing, we know the Jack's going to take the base.
Reminiscent of those Sped games long ago at the World Championship as well. Can he have the same effect here? Khan, though, taking control of this jungle. And again, as you mentioned many times, it is also about the wards that they're able to leave behind to enable this split pushing and enable them to keep this pressure up. You know, the timer on the double teleport advantage as well is dwindling here for Samsung, and you have to watch out for those flanking wards to start up and set up that big play.
1 minute and 25 seconds on Khan's teleport till that one's back up. That's the TP advantage you're talking about right here. Power spikes completed in a lot of places. Ruler's got static shift done. Prey had to stop for a Quicksilver Sash, so he's actually stopped the multiplication for a little while here, slowing things down. No Locket yet for Gorilla either. These are very important power spikes coming through. Kube's got his flash back up. He's got his Proto Belt in there as well to make sure he can reach the back line. This is one of the best possible times for Samsung Galaxy to find a 5v5.
The most immediate goal for Longzhou is to take down that mid lane turret. Whenever you have Blitzcrank, Thresh, these initiating supports, taking down mid lane turret can be so pivotal to getting the deep vision down. For now, they have to respect the fact that Sejuani and Malzahar, or even the Rakan, are camping brush, and that means it's much easier for Samsung to place their control wards and defend them than it is for Longzhou to put them down until they have the extra space that taking down mid lane outer provides.
Defensive boot option for Ruler action. Ninja the first time seeing it here, actually really respecting what Kuz and Khan could do in a team fight. Go Siege in the mid lane coming across. It's going to fall pretty shortly, but the wave clear keeps it alive for now. Stun almost finds Ruler, but he's off to the side. He's going to stay alive on this one. Seeing Khan again waiting in the wings. Cube going to look to fight him a little bit. The Q lands with a couple hundred damage.
Prey to side lane here, but it's being called to the mid lane. Want to get into the 3-item spike within the edge. But certainly go a long way, given that the front line is really only Sejuani at this point. Something that Longzhou do very commonly. Korean teams do like to rotate their AD carry around to get the solo farm, as we see Ruler on your screen right now, compared to, say, the Chinese teams that are more likely to just barrel in as a 4 and force objectives while this side lane is happening.
Look at Ruler farm. He's one of those great late-game scaling carries in the Tristana, and the only real physical damage dealer on the squad as well against the 4 Mercantile plus QSS team. That is a stat line you need in physical damage. Ruler hoping to do well in this one.
Definitely a lot of priority targets available for him later on. Let's see if they're able to retain control around this Baron pit, though. Samsung spent a lot of their resources clearing out this vision and trying to create some extra pressure for themselves. Now, Cube talked about how dangerous it is for him in a 1v1 scenario. The turret even not going to offer that much protection. Has to be a little bit careful there, as Khan got it all the way down to 50% already.
I want to call attention to the second item finished by Jax. It is not a Play the Ruin King. Gorilla hits a hook through there. It is not something like a Tiamat that you might see for pushing. Is
the bolt's coming across, plenty of damage. There's a fraction as well. Flash still dies the explosive charges. Ruler gets himself that kill. There's the damage at work right there. No jungler means Baron could be an opportunity.
That's definitely a huge pick for Samsung, and they still have ults left.
Goes on Gorilla, box into the device. Sometimes he's going to pull in a mission as well, but is there enough re-engage? That is the tank on the squad, and there's no ultimate out of BDD because that would not be a useful target. They're going to pull the teleport out of Khan. And he home guards up to the mid lane.
Cube still holds on to the Kennen ultimate as well. Again, there's so many forms of engage from Samsung. They get a pick with a couple of them and burn through most of them. They still have that giant threat, though, and all importantly, they were able to, again, get the teleport cooldown out of Khan.
Flash engage, almost finds Gorilla, gets himself out as well. A triple stun out of BDD keeps the rest of the team safe.
Samsung holds all the cards. They don't have an answering teleport, so Khan is kind of milling around mid lane, doesn't want to go bot lane. They have Cube ready whenever possible. Re-engage is available with all the CC on the side of Samsung. Longzhou are in crisis mode until they can reset the summoner spell advantages that Samsung hold.
This is very important goal, too, because we talked earlier about those completion points with the items. 2 big spikes here as well. Could very well be Void Stabs coming in for Crown, for Cuvée, which would go through a lot of this early stacked magic resist that Longzhou focused on.
see, of course, you're seeing Khan continue to build more defensive items. Frozen Mallet into a Hex Drinker means he's still not going to have any armor for a turret dive, and he doesn't have quite the same dueling tools he would have otherwise. He's building tanky. There's no wave clear as well for split push duty. It's looking like he's going to try to team fight and withstand all the magic damage in the fight. We'll see if it comes through, though.
I think a lot of the viewers at home will say, okay, so how do Longzhu stop this Baron reset into pickup? What do they do to actually get ahead? A lot of that was around going Frozen Mallet second as Khan, having teleport up and Jack, and requiring multiple members to come bot lane. You can solo kill Cuvée with enough time along enough lane when you go Frozen Mallet, and it's when those extra members leave that Longzhu can actually get that vice grip on the Baron that right now, with teleport down, is actually impossible to get.
And I actually like this response from Khan with his teleport down. Never mind.
Khan on the front line. They're going to get the kill on the Gorilla. Not just yet, though. Staying alive for a bit more. Kuva this side is going to lot out of this one. And he's going to go for the re-engage, but Khan now might be running out of health. 400 health on him. That at 800 now as well. The Hextrigger Pop still barely stays alive, but one kill comes through as it knocks down Ambition. The tank stats were enough. Khan made the right choice. Survived the ultimate as one kill came through for Longzhu.
I was just about to say, I like the reaction from Khan. It's a very small gold investment to pick up a Hex Drinker this late in. But
Crowd's going to die for that one. Nice pick up by BDD, knocking him down with the trade kill. Comes in with the Proto Belt. Not going to quite get that hook, though. And Rula tried to predict that one, but the kill going to come through the hook. The jump on in, he's going to knock down Prey. Yes, he does. The double kill actually comes out of Cuvée. Advantage Samsung Galaxy.
Big disconnect from the members of Longzhu. BDD flashes in when his Jax is back in base, when Prey is out of position. Nothing he could do there. They lose the mid lane turret. Longzhu out of sync for the first time at World.
Yeah, BDD had so much success early on in the lane phase, bullying Crown, bullying this Malzahar, that he has since made some very aggressive mistakes that have cost the team. This one a bit more costly as the mid turret goes down. The last line of outer defense from Longzhu that was left standing, and it gives Samsung time to push out the waves, to place down their vision around Baron yet again.
And it was one of those unforced errors. Sure, he got a nice chunk off, but he didn't need to flash. He didn't need to look for an aggressive kill, and it's lost them more than just a turret.
The Baron start, and no one from Longzhu really seems the wiser. In fact, Cuz is recalling 2 screens away. There is no contest for this one. Samsung Galaxy turned the fight win into a 30-minute Baron, and they've now got a sizable grip on this game.
So incredibly costly. Take another look at the beginning of this team fight, though, because this was Ambition starting it off again. They see the hook miss, immediately engage onto Gorilla.
Not able to actually get damage on. The Prey can just lift off. So Cuvé's not the big factor here. They focus everything on the super tank with the Frozen Mallet help and the resist from the ultimate. The start of it is just fine for the side of Longzhu, but then BDD, he gets a rush of blood to the head, and it really makes things difficult for Longzhu.
That's right, they get a re-engage here, throws down the stun onto ground, immediately flashes forward. Poor JJ goes for the stun. Cuvée actually still had Proto Belt activation there, and the entire time, Ruler on Tristana. Able to get the crits to come through, find that last kill as well.
And you see Cuvé's super pumped about that, but in my head I'm like, what's the best case scenario when BDD flashes in? Of course Rakan is going to have his CC back. Of course it's going to be a trade, and the rest of his members, the Jackson base and the AD carry out of position, weren't going to be able to profit from a 1v1.
I especially like Crown's reaction there. As a mid laner, you know, when you get flashed on and ulted and killed, and your team has the victory afterwards, and you get to cheer, yes! Ha! You fool! Look what you've done!
Baited and outsmarted, perfect play out of him. Crown doing the good stuff. Now, Cloud are going to drop down pretty quickly, and this one still no contest to be had around the map, of course, with the 3,000 gold lead plus a Baron buff. It is not easy to contest Samsung Galaxy. Cuvée has his teleport if he needs to match Khan and rejoin a team fight. The 5-5, of course, compositionally still better for the squad, and it looks like, at the very least, the predictions of 3-0 for Longzhu are wrong. This is very likely to be a closed-out game for Samsung Galaxy without some kind of significant comeback at a Longzhu.
Can't even really side lane very confidently right now with the Jax because he has gone for a dueling build with the Frozen Mallet. Try and kill the Ken in the long lane. Doesn't actually have great wave pushing abilities. Can be rotated on as you see the members of Samsung just entering the lane the Jax is in and trying to take turrets as the Jax kind of watches on. Very helpless.
All right, with this Baron buff, Samsung can just leave Ken and Cuvée up there on the top side, slowly push in, whereas Longzhu actually trying to defend all 3 lanes at once here. And if you're trying to spread that thin against this Samsung squad, the turrets are just going to go down. Secondary ones, very easy to deal with.
A lot of threat on Ruler. A couple of feathers doesn't really mean too much. It tickles him as feathers tend to do here on this. His bot lane tier 2 falls. Longzhu has still only got themselves one turret all game, and that was through Prey and Gorilla's laning phase and a single roam. Nothing else has really profited that much the rest of this game. That BDD First Blood doesn't mean much anymore. He's actually the death leader on his team.
BDD not in a side lane. Khan with an emergency teleport that didn't lead to anything there. Whole game plan kind of falling apart, where Samsung can just barrel mid lane. There's not really a lot of options for Longzhu.
Now the question is, are they going to do another emergency teleport, or are they just going to give up this inhibitor in exchange for the outer turret on top side, because they know they can't fight it? They know that even though this is a terrible trade, they have to take it because there's nothing else you're going to get. You either get nothing by teleporting back, or you get at least the outer turret on top side and a bit more farm on the Jax.
It's the kind of play that gets you flamed in solo queue, but it's the right choice. There is no 5-on-5 to have against a Baron buff team with a better team fight composition. Khan will get what he can, and Longzhu will keep bleeding resources until he gets that individual edge. But that's the question, is can Khan ever really beat Cuvée enough compared to what the rest of Samsung can do the rest of Longzhu?
And your first instinct has to be no, because to beat a cannon in a very long lane, basically only turret up on the bot side is the inner turret for Samsung Galaxy. You need vision and face-checking brushes to take over what you can see is a red ward dominated bot side for Longzhu's red side, let alone push further, is basically impossible. Khan is going to have to play with limited information, go for one of his famous outplays trying to ward jump away when the cavalry comes. And that unfortunately means that Longzhu are kind of hoping for a Samsung critical error.
Yeah, you have to worry about so many things from that Fog of War. There's Flash Malzahar ultimate, Flash Sejuani ultimate, Flash Kennen ultimate, Flash Rakan ultimate. Literally every single champion on the Samsung squad, huge threat if they have this vision advantage, and those can be comboed to take out anyone.
That's the hook. That might be the play. Playing on it too, but he's going to get away with this one. Corday staying alive. They're being coming across the front line. A lot of health bars just getting pushed down as Cuz Flash away. Stays up with this one. The stun is going to break Crown Zombie as Khan looks for the duel. This on the magic of the stack. Helps as much as he can for the team. Re-engaging and Cuz still finds the kill. And Khan refuses to die, but finally does 2 for 1. Make it 3. Make it 4. It's only Ruler staying alive, but he's been cut short as that was the best team fight Longzhu could hope for.
Oh, Longzhu stand strong at their last secondary turret here. Super minions flooding into the base, but they find the engage here and take the opportunity. The sliver of hope that was given to them. Khan teleports in, and he was able to make it happen on top of Crown.
Hook of Destiny from Gorilla starts off that parade. Would have thought he was out of range, just got him on the edge. And it felt like Longzhu wouldn't have an Alamo, a last place to have some semblance of an even fight. But one hook comes in and the game changes.
The double play there onto Core JJ and Ruler right after the hook. Cuz here taking up so much on the Jarvan is able to flash back out. You think there's a reset here. Khan on the top side though is alone with Crown, and all of the members of Samsung flash to defend him. BDD stuns up Cuvée on the other side, and even though Khan sacrifices himself there on the Jax, they find the 3 extra.
BDD stunned Cuvée out of his teleport, then also out of his potential flank. Meant that he couldn't even use his ultimate. He did nothing in the entire fight. It's supposed to be Longzhu, forced on the back foot by the slicing Maelstrom. It wasn't a cooldown they had to respect, and suddenly, it felt a bit like a 5v4.
It's such a thin line that you have to walk. He wants to have a big impact with Kennen, so you want your Proto Belt, and you want all of your magic penetration, as you can see that he has. However, if you don't have the safety of a Zhonya's or something like that, or the speed of a Flash, and the surprise factor, or, teammates to set you up, as we talk about the other forms of CC, then it makes it very dangerous, right? You're a squishy cannon here, and yes, you can deal a lot of damage, but you are a glass cannon. He gets stunned up and taken down.
No big difference in the gold lead. They have been able to recover. It's only about 2,000 gold here for Samsung. But remember, rinse and repeat is about to come up. 25 seconds until Baron spawns, until Longzhu will have that same trouble getting vision in the pit. The initiation option's still there for Samsung. This time around, need to make the most out of the Jax.
Oh, they're circling around.
And Ward's coming around the sides. Cuvée on the back side as well. Has Banshee's Veil completed. He'll survive quite a bit better against that Syndra. Hook almost lands for Gorilla. That could have been the go signal. Looking at the next play to come through. Double lock-in for Samsung Galaxy. One done for Gorilla as well on the side. Waiting for Longzhu to see if they can find themselves the opening as the Wards get killed out. Gorilla gets himself ready to go for that one. And Prey's wave here continues. That inhibitor in the mid lane means that Longzhu have to manually reset mid lane consistently. Samsung Galaxy would get that control on their own no matter what.
Longzhu are able to push up past the midpoint of the mid lane because Cube's teleport is down. We know there's lots of vision, some of it's being replaced, but there was a lot of deep vision. Now they're trying to force Cube to respond to a Baron stop.
It's a 5v4, there is no cannon, he can't join. Engage comes across looking for Crown. They've got rid of the passive, and he's going to get able to flash out. Redemption gets a bit of health back on the squad. They're re-engaged for Core JJ. They still don't have the player just yet, but one kill in for Ruler. The suppression gets across. There should be two as Khan will drop, and that's a clean 2 for nothing without even having their top laner.
Longzhu knew they had to force something here in the teleport cooldown, but Samsung 4 versus 5 find the kill themselves. And by the time Cube arrives, it's a free Baron.
A second free Baron of the game might be the death knell predicted earlier. In this case, Gorilla opens up, taken down early. Khan can't be a solo frontliner, and they just have to wait and reset after all their good work around their inner top lane turret just about 3 minutes ago.
We're up to full build for Prey practically at this point. He's got 70 crit chance in the upgraded Quicksilver Sash and a Scimitar as well. Only 1 slot left to go. Similar for Ruler here, who just has a Scimitar upgrade for himself. And the push into the top lane continues. The respawn still not here just yet. Turret number 7 falls for Samsung Galaxy. The gold lead about 6,000 here in this one as they look for the inhibitor itself. And the turret in front of it is Khan is still 6 seconds away.
They can try and push hard on this minion wave. 4 more seconds on the Jackson. They've got plenty of time.
No more turret to defend, then this is an inhibitor. It doesn't fight back. It just regens a little bit of health now. Ambition gets right back to the box on a 2+ HP. He's going to be okay. A stun on the back line, but there's no follow-through. Ruler going to stay alive. He's going to be okay. Inhibitor will fall. Given up by Longzhu. Just a poke coming out from the blue side, and they won't get much more. That is the second inhibitor fall, as mid has already respawned, though.
Top inhibitor down, and mid inhibitor exposed with an Elder Dragon. This is Longzhu with so many pressure points they have to deal with right now. Another look at starting up this Baron, though. The initiation's so critical. Cuz wanted to soak as many ults as possible, but he just jumped in, popped his Stoneplate, and wasn't able to soak.
JJ able to get the reinitiation. Khan caught on the backside, even though Crown was sitting in vision at the time, took him down. The peel off there was not as decisive as was needed, and the moment the first 2 CCs hit, everyone had to back away from Longzhu.
Just an absolute massacre there, you know, starting up Baron and Samsung coming in with the 4 members. Let's see now, as Elder Dragon is going to draw Longzhu into very dangerous territory. Look at all the wards again going down from Samsung. They have an easy setup.
Community doing infinitely more damage than the last team fight, this time landing the stun across some members, and maybe that buys a few more seconds. Ambition, though, waiting in the wings. They see because this could be the fight that Samsung wants. A great stun going to land on the front line, push back a little bit longer, but Ambition pretty healthy, and they waste the unleashed power on the tankiest member. Don't know if I love that out of BDD, and now a Syndra ult down means Scuba can feel a lot more comfortable. Look at the next play as Ruler wants to jump in. Nice kite back, gets away from the stun.
No wallbox on Ambition, maybe trying to DPS him low enough to not be a front line, but as we can see, and not find any real value. Like you say, Khan looking for a flank, but an initiation sounds like it's just not going to benefit Longzhu in the slightest.
The long-range skill shots come out. A hook from Gorilla, but it attacks the caster. The stun from BDD. This time going to hit again, but won't find much more. No follow-through route from Prey just yet. The hook coming out. That one's going to miss as well. Mid inhibitor going to fall. Baron still on for a minute, and 2 inhibitors are down.
Pressure mounting here against Longzhu. They still have Baron buff on Samsung's side. 2 lines of super minions heading in. And the Baron empowered double cannon wave, they can just sit here and slowly wear away at the rest of Longzhu's base.
30 seconds on Baron buff means this, and maybe one more away for the push. Almost lands up on a 4J. Not quite a root on Ambition, but again, it's tanky. Stun's going to land on the front line. Prey gets where the push to the sash, and that's some of the big cooldowns missing. Into the front line goes Cuz with the Cataclysm, but now he is alone and a bit isolated. The turret's gone, and he's been shut down. Ambition getting himself that kill as the turret's already fallen. Now the inhibitor to stay alive, but 5v4 with minions inside the base is almost certainly the game-closing fight.
No big ults left for Samsung. They couldn't. They saw Prey zoned from damage because Cube still has flash ultimate up.
Big stun. Cube is not going to quite haul a heal for good measure. Wouldn't have died anyway, but still, the team able to actually walk back with this one. They don't want to quite risk a comeback fight. Triple inhibitor down, though, is almost a certainty at this point, though.
Yeah, this is going to be a very brief respite for Longzhu. Elder Dragon should be cleaned up here by Samsung. They can go back and purchase with all of the extra gold they just got off of those victories and return to deliver that definitive blow to the Nexus.
surreal thing about this game, guys, is that, again, we remember, Longzhu chose blue side. Still, they went for a 4-1 strategy. Still, it was about setting up jacks, usually a counter pick as the final pick on red.
But blinding is greedy.
They blinded the jacks, maybe surprised that Cuvée went away from his meta champion pool and took the cannon. Gonna watch the replay first, but a lot of things a little bit off here for Longzhu. The initiation on point from Samsung.
Or JJ gets 3 of them with the combo there, and then Cuz tries to answer. Jarvan's goal there is to jump in and pop your stone plate before all the ults hit you, then hope that they use the ults on you afterwards. But Samsung not using them too frequently and are able to just focus him down and still have the pressure.
Just to finish the point on the draft, to me, the only reason to choose blue side is to kind of invite Samsung to choose their bot lane and get value out of the Thresh, get information, go for the Thresh, go for the proactive mid game. They missed their mid game window through some big mistakes, most notably from BDD. This was not the texture of the game that the Thresh was selected for. Longzhu protecting their base, just the dregs of the base.
Frey at half HP, just a couple of skill shots or auto attacks hitting him now into the mid lane. They go a nice double stun, but no follow through. You have to expect those are the kind of openings that come so rarely for Longzhu. They don't pull trigger this one now. Khan looking at the 1v1 against Ambition as the Frost Armor drops, goes back to the duel, lands the stun, but doesn't do anything against that tank. He gets stunned up and just buys a bit of time. You can see Prey can do some damage. He's full build right now, 100% crit chance, but is it going to be enough? As the Siege now pushes into the mid lane, 5v5, looking to knock things down. They pull an Ambition, they find the Sun and Because. Here comes the charm, the jump in, the combo. Doesn't quite get anything yet, but the turn's gonna fall. Ambition low, but still taking enough to stay alive. Redemption buys a bit of time. Gorilla though below 1k HP as the push continues. Cuvée, free time on the side, a few more shots will knock down the last turret, and there is only the Nexus left to knock down. As Thunder really gets away, the locket device time as well, and Prey can't quite get the dodge away. Because 1 kill picks up, now make it 2. Cuz gonna fall, makes it 3 and 4. All 5 gonna drop as Prey is just trying to make it happen. He can't do it. That's gonna be game 1 going to Samsung Galaxy.
What an opener! Samsung strike first here, gaining the advantage in this best-of-5 series.
Both teams rolling the dice with new strategies, a new take on the meta. Samsung was more standard. They left the last pick for Cuvée. We said needs to step up, needs to contain Khan. A pretty big pass mark to him there. Was able to do that. The Thresh pick that looked good at the start was quickly no longer a boon for Longzhu, and Samsung Galaxy just kind of powered through the game.
Cuvée, one of the guys we said no hesitation in immediately answering here with this cannon pick. The team fight focus, full AP coming in and bringing together the rest of the team. Samsung, though, they still ran into areas of discomfort, right? They had to make some good initiations and some good choices here. Ambition, he missed a lot of Sejuani ults, but he also nailed a bunch of them as well, critically.
Yeah, really big deals out of that one. So a great first win for Samsung Galaxy. Of course, 2 more to go for them, but now to get their thoughts on that game 1 win, let's pass it down to Dash and our analysts.
Thank you very much. Freak out the gate with the win here for Samsung Galaxy. And immediately I notice Janna's out. Lulu's out. Say goodbye to that group stage meta. They're hitting the ban table, and instead we get the Thresh versus Rakan. We get the Syndra versus Malzahar. What are you guys feeling? Split pushers in the top lane. What are you guys feeling about this?
I mean, we've seen the Janna Lulu bans before, and then teams were just trading like Karma for Taric or Rakan for Karma or Taric. But the Thresh is something, Misfits have tried to do already. We saw G2 in the first week with the Alistar as well, trying to see, okay, can we counter in lane something like a Rakan and see if we can shut him down. And they did actually win the bot lane by like 10 CS and took a tower, but it wasn't enough to really make their Thresh pick valuable.
Well, and I'd even say, to me, this game was so much less about the draft than it was about the execution, despite the fact that the draft was very interesting and pretty complex. When you talk about a lot of the weaknesses that we saw from Samsung in groups, Ambition nowhere. Well, he had 2 kills pre-10 minutes in this game when he had never gotten a kill or an assist pre-15. We talk about the fact, that Longzhu had been this incredible execution-based team. They're so fast to make decisions, and it almost always feels like it's the right one. And there was a number of times where it felt like Longzhu was either nervous or perhaps underestimating their opponents, and I felt like they threw away what was a very winnable game based on execution.
And you talk about execution, and you have to remember, this team has actually only played 1 best-of-5 in their entire creation. Or for this roster in particular. When they played against SKT, they had 3 matches to watch what SKT was doing. They could feel comfortable. They could sit at the top of the ladder and just wait for them to play. Here, they had 3 days to prepare against Samsung. There is way less time, so your nerves, your execution is going to be off, whereas Samsung, they are a team that is known for preparation. That's why we give them the underdog factor that can always upset anyone.
Yeah, and we talked about some of the ways Samsung could win before the game started, and one of the big things we had was, okay, counter pick top for QA. That could be an important one. Also, have a better late game comp than Longshore. And Samsung came in very prepared with the draft here. They last pick for QV up in top lane with the cannon. They played around it as well. They had a super good late game teamfight comp as well. So once they got an advantage, they never really gave it back to Longshore.
We talk about the importance of execution here, Azale, but I have to recognize the fact that when the Syndra was locked in following the blind pick Malzahar, collectively the desk was like, oh no, what are you doing, Samsung Galaxy? Because this is exactly how that matchup is expected to go in terms of the picks and the way they relate to each other.
And in the early game, it's such a brutal matchup for Malzahar because the Voidlings are used against you. Syndra can just pick it up as soon as you spawn it, throw it right at you. You have very little ability to actually fight back in the early stages of the game. But the problem here was, again, BDD, he's able to get this big advantage. What does he then do with it? He actually tries to dive a turret, not knowing where the jungler is. Right. Takes about 6 turret shots. That advantage is now gone. And once Malzahar is post 6, in combination with the jungler, it's so powerful. And, it's also powerful at shutting down the split push style because you can always threaten the flash Malzahar ult.
And important to add here, the tower never died in the early game. So yes, he got some of the kills and he got a CS advantage. Tower was still there. Malzahar was still farming. He was actually almost even in items once we moved into the big team fights. Another thing Malzahar brings, you highlight already some of the pressure with the jungler. Once you have ulti on Malzahar, you can get mid lane priority so easily because teams cannot face check against you. They can't push forward because then stuff like this will happen. Where you walk into the river and you instantly just get Malzahar ulted and you just die.
But stuff like this shouldn't happen all the time. I felt like the itemization from Longju was all over the place. Remember when Malzahar was meta? What was the answer? 5 QSSs. He's done. He doesn't do anything. And you have a Sejuani as well. So you get a double whammy on the... They never went for that. Only Xayah and then... I think maybe Jax had a Q. Only one QSS was built.
Like especially for Khan, that seemed like such a free QSS to build. It's very good against Kennen in the 1v1. If the jungler comes, that's a Sejuani, very good there. Just the flat magic resist is also good against the Malzahar, also good against the Malzahar ult. It felt like such an obvious item to build, so I was really surprised that he chose Ma over that. And as a result, we can say it's playstyle choices or it's itemization, but Jax was never really in the side lane. Pretty much the only time you saw him committed fully to a split push was when they first gave up the mid inhibitor. And if Jax is just going to teamfight the whole game, he's not going to have the same level of effectiveness that you want.
And I think that happens because you're saying, okay, Malzahar will pressure mid lane, and if you have Jax on the side lane, you have a 4-man unit. But if your 4-man unit doesn't have QSSs, you can't defend against the onslaught. So you have to just say, we need to teamfight all the time or we don't do anything else.
And that said, relatively even game up to that point, but something's got to break one way or the other eventually, and that it did in favor of Samsung Galaxy. 30-30 into the game. This replay brought to you by Ace of Predator.
In the beginning stages of this fight, you actually have to credit Gorilla. I thought he had played really well throughout the game, but in this fight, not as effective. You can see that, again, no QSS here on Khan. He's pushed completely out of the fight, and it does start as essentially just kind of this one-for-one trade. Jax is pushed back out, but then BDD, I actually felt like this was the game-losing moment. He decides there's an opportunity to trade a kill for the Mals, and while he actually gets it when he flashes in, Tristana has her summoners. Tristana has ultimate. Prey has nothing. There's no way to fight back into the following 3v3.
But it feels to me like the idea for BDD here is Cleanse is ready, Thresh is behind him with Lantern, so you can flash forward, kill this guy. If you get CC'd, you can cleanse, and you can take the Lantern, you get out. And you are a hero now, because now you can actually go Baron. But he gets instant lockdown so fast, and then when you get knocked up as well, right there by the Rakan, you're not getting out. And then he dies instantly, and then it all goes wrong because he's dead longer as well here. And by the time everyone is respawned from Samsung, they rush Baron.
And because Jax can't actually split push against a Baron comp, right? You're then being pushed in, he's forced to actually group, he's forced to team fight, and I think that, Samsung played a very good game, and if this is the level that they're going to bring, and they're going to have a much closer series than we were anticipating.
This is why the Korean team, especially Samsung and SKT on the other side, are just so well regarded as playoff teams. The preparation that they come in, the fact that they've been here a million times before, they know how to handle these situations, and so they're just going to make some mistakes here and there, but when the plays matter, they almost always deliver.
Now, you two spotted Samsung a game, essentially, in your predictions. I just received word that they have selected red side for Game 2, so valuing to some degree perhaps the potential of a counter pick. But I want to start now focusing in on that second game. Talk about what we might see change here. Do we continue to shy away from the Jannas and the Lulus? Or does maybe Longzhu fall back on comfort there and indexing behind Prey?
There's probably a high chance they go back to an Ardent Sensor support. Like typically if you do this in a best of one, or sorry, in a best of five, when the first game you take the gamble, pick the Thresh, go against the Ardent meta and say, let's see if Prey and Gorilla can take over the bot lane and snowball. If that works, you do it again for game 2. If it doesn't work, teams tend to just say, okay, we tried it, let's go back to Ardent Sensor meta instead. I also think Malzahar ban in the second phase might come in because they clearly did not feel comfortable playing against it in this game.
Final point. It'll be interesting because I'm kind of the other opinion where I feel like Longzhu should have confidence in their draft because to me it was the execution that fall flat. You know, the bot lane
But that's
play,
again where they can
Ruler,
get concerned.
yeah, it's fair. You know, Ruler for the first time I felt was making mistakes in team fights. I felt BDD did as well, and I feel like they should have the confidence in their play to be able to play a draft.
The good news is it's a best of 5, right? So you can wipe that one out of your minds and move on to the next 3. Up next, we'll see if Longzhu can pick up a win of their own versus Samsung Galaxy. As the teams prep for game 2, though, we'll leave you with the brand new music video, for the world's theme, Legends Never Die.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed, far-reaching greatness, relentless, you survive. You never lose hope when everything's cold and the fighting's near. It's deep in their bones, they'll ride into smoke when the fire is fierce. No, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. When the world's calling you, can you hear that screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you live, far-reaching greatness, legends never die. They're written down in eternity, but you'll never see the price it costs. The scars collected all their lives. When everything's lost, they pick up their hearts and devise defeat. Before it all starts, they suffer through harm just to touch our dream. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die. When the world's calling you, can you hear that screaming
welcome to Game 2 of Longzhu Gaming versus Samsung Galaxy, the all-Korean quarterfinal here at Worlds 2017. Game 2, of course, Samsung Galaxy won the first game. The way side selection works is you get to basically, Longzhu picks games 1, 3, and 5. Samsung picks on games 2 and 4. This is, of course, game 2. They chose to play on the red side here. I know you had commented, Papa Smithy, about the sort of the curiosity of Longzhu even picking blue in game 1, and then we aren't even swapping sides here. Samsung says, yeah, we like that side too.
Yeah, it kind of compounds the problem for the side of Longzhu because it guarantees, at least if you follow the flow of the first game draft, that this man on your screen, Khan, will not get counterpick on the top lane. And I think that was a big story, was QV shifting from the very meta champion pool previously, Cho'Gath, Trundle, Maokai, and of course the Camille game, and going for the ability to actually play 1v1. This is something QV has developed over his career, went from very much a tank role player into being able to play those carry matchups as well.
And I think so much about that game also was not only about counterpicking in the lane matchup, but as a team, Samsung picks so much crowd control, so much AoE, it's very hard to play split pushes into this type of composition, right? You're engaging into Malzahar and AoE cannon stuns, and Samsung were able to play their later 5v5 game like we expected them to look for.
And looks like we're setting up for the 5v5 style as well. Janna conspicuously left up right now as a pretty priority support pick right now. We're waiting to see what Samsung Galaxy does with their new bans because Longzhu dropped their Janna ban, dropped their Cho'Gath ban. There's the Janna ban on the other side for this one. That means that Lulu is up from before and Cho'Gath's up from before.
Lulu Varus, a very possible duo lane here for Longzhu. I want to draw your attention to the Malzahar ban, though. The Malzahar pick on the side of Samsung ended up forcing Longzhu away from a facilitator mid laner, a mid laner with a global. I think Ryze would have been a heavy consideration for them. Went for the lane, and certainly the lane focus worked in the early game, but they didn't have that extra oomph to guarantee that Khan could get ahead. He had to blind pick the Jax from there. It went away from him in this game. Getting rid of someone who is a blocker to some of those roaming champions can be used against Taliyah, most famously against the Galio, and also the particular pick of the Ryze will give Longzhu a couple more options to get BDD ahead, because he's the one most likely to end up with the counter pick on the side of Longzhu.
And right now, Samsung Galaxy can pick almost exactly the same team composition here with the Tristana and Sejuani still being picked like the last time. As Longzhu rushing through theirs, the Jarvan grabbed up, and the Varus pretty early on as well.
And then this time around, I feel more inclined towards Longzhu giving this Jarvan to Khan on the top side, because this is a champion where he can build tanky in the later phases of the game. You know, he can be on the front lines as a stone play and fight a little bit more standard in that front to back, plus a little bit more standard this time around. Obviously, Longzhu do have Lulu there for the Ardent Sensor.
Look at this, more differences coming through here. They had the option of playing the same Rakan as last game, playing the exact same bot lane. Instead, they want to play the Taric here into this one. Of course, a great team fight tank out of support role as well. That area of effect and vulnerability, huge for those 5-on-5s.
I mean, Samsung has the same read that we did. All right, Longzhu, you tried the split push, you tried the Jax, go more towards the team fighting. They take the Taric, one of the best team fighting supports. Sejuani as a premier frontline. You see the Ryze will already be banned, so this Malzahar Ryze tug of war that was won by Samsung, blinding the Malzahar and preventing the Ryze from really being a realistic pick, is once again happening in this series.
See what happens here. This one, Cassiopeia adding to the mid lane ban pools as BDD gonna hope that he can get himself an advantageous mid lane matchup, and that flex Jarvan can work out in the end. Krag is still off the table, of course. Again, a jungle ban out from Samsung Galaxy, expecting that Jarvan to go top.
And it's that eerie feeling I had before this series when I talked about Samsung's preparation. It feels like they are suddenly that 1 inch ahead in terms of where Longzhu wants to go. It does feel like Khan will be taking the top lane Jarvan in this game. Taliyah is also a big pick for Crown, who brought it back into the meta after the nerfs took it out of Worlds 2016, and he'll actually be the one blinding it in this game.
Yeah, we'll see if he's actually able to gain any sort of space to roam again, though. You know, Ambition is back on the Sejuani, and we'll see what Cuz has in store for him, because it looks like it'll again be the Jarvan into Sejuani matchup, as the Cho'Gath is locked in for Khan.
I'm hoping to get rid of some of the frontline tanks, but of course Maokai and that ilk is still available if they want to. But Shen, of course, another one of the big top lane tanks, so it will be very durable top laners, pretty durable. Looks like Cinderhulk junglers here as well. The Orianna and Taliyah going to be a new twist in this matchup.
Shen pairs so well with Taliyah. Both solo laners this time around very well equipped for Samsung to play around that bottom side, to start that roaming game.
That's Khan's first professional game on the Cho'Gath. Do note, they will have lane priority in top and bot, and mid lane does start to equalize out as well as the laning phase goes out. So this is one of those traditional drafts from Longzhu, but with different champions. It's not the ultra comfort on top lane, especially BDD, when it's not the Talia, when it's not the Galio. His next default has been Orion.
And Cube here with the Shen, early on, getting the pass-through damage on Cho'Gath. You can get some really good trades. It's all about, can the Cho'Gath actually get up to the minion wave, to utilize the passive and heal back up. And again, the junglers, we're watching so close for how they're going to affect those early lane matchups.
Jungler is certainly a big deal in this series. It went contrary to what we expected coming into this one, where Ambition had been toothless entirely in the early game. This time around, though, had gotten two successful ganks off, got kills on both of them, and really kept a lot of that early game pressure alive because Longzhu were kind of winning almost all of their lanes. Got that first turret gold, the game still remained close. We'll see if Samsung Galaxy can once again hold on. This time around, though, the composition's much more similar. They're 5v5 fights on both these sides. Lulu Varus versus Tarek Tristana. Personally, I'd give a lot of edge to Tristana having more damage in the late game team fights. We'll have to see just how Prey could do it because he is absolutely one of the world's best, especially on a signature Varus.
Always hurts the 80s damage numbers a little bit as well if they're playing against the Spirit's Refuge. Blocks out key auto attacks during those team fights, but Prey, especially on the Varus, did have that 1500 DPS game. It was absolutely insane.
Yep.
It was definitely playing against two health stacking tanks, which Varus and all his percent hit
Really against Stone Plate, a little unfair for damage numbers. That's all. That's pretty biased, but we are into this one. Prey gonna find some opponents.
First time we've seen Samsung with this lineup go for anything other than a full 5-man point defense. So Samsung already showing an adaptation that was on play in game one. Invading here, and for Longzhu, it does feel like the mid game is really their refuge to actually find a big advantage. In the early game, it's going to be a bit of a struggle when the globals are online to actually make the sort of tempo plays, the invasion plays, the proactive plays that Longzhu are known for, because there is a lot of those global abilities. In the ultra late game, I really can't look past Tristana Tarek as just being oppressive in a true 5v5 fight. So it feels like the breakpoints here for Longzhu are pretty narrow. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but they would not want to fall into 2 games on the blue side, 2 defeats, and already require a reverse sweep for their world's life. But that's actually on the plate right here.
Now getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, of course, it's the beginning of the game. Minions have just spawned, and it all comes down to execution more often than not here. Red buff start for Cuz Jarvan here on the bot side. His 3rd Jarvan game, really, of his entire career. He's almost always given that champion over to Khan on the top lane. Not the case, of course, here in this series. Very similar sort of starts for Ambition as he started on his top side near his red buff, but yeah, it's going to be a multi-camp clear. He started out Talisman, it's going to be part of the Raptors, into Wolves, into maybe his blue.
Ambition throwing up his pathing, and Samsung also getting deep vision and knowing where Kuz started, something they hadn't been doing in previous series. So we keep mentioning this laundry list of things Samsung needs to work on. The laundry list is getting shorter as they continue to adapt.
Maybe some big plays to be required out of Longzhu. Speaking of which, throughout this weekend, make sure to add hashtag world's big plays, the moments that make you take to Twitter. We'll be on the lookout so you can share your tweets with us throughout the knockout stage. We'll show off how acute you are at seeing the big plays here in this one as the bot lane starts the battle, and it's an early push actually for Samsung Galaxy.
Meanwhile, Cuz gets the early Scuttle Crab. Double buff right into securing some vision around that top side for Khan on his Cho'Gath. Playing fairly defensive right now, just going to let Cube push into him a little bit. They have no eyes on Ambition. And if Cho'Gath loses his flash, so easy for repeat ganks. And we've seen a lot of Cho'Gath actually even get camped early on and focused and kind of give away so much pressure in that early game because of overextending in lane.
That's why so much effort from Longzhu was put around setting up the top lane Scuttle Crab, getting the coverage vision to allow Longzhu to just push away. That's why also Prey and Gorilla were very much on the back foot in bot side. Letting Khan control the lane top side by largely having Cuz around there. It's a good way to ensure that those early game repeat ganks can't happen for Khan.
Gotta make sure we keep track of the junglers where they're going. Cuz gonna get both Scuttles in the first round of the jungle. Ambition level 4 already, getting everything but the Krugs for himself. And looking at his top side, as we mentioned, Khan's been being pushed in, and that wave's still very far away. So the best Ambition has is a counter jungle, or sorry, a counter gank, as he gets his own Krugs. the rest of his camps are all seen. Cuz right now down a level though, and down one of the camps.
Meanwhile, Predator Gorilla pushed up the lane on bottom side as Cuz and over there as well to provide the extra support and vision. They knew that Ambition is not on this side due to that Scryer's boom and all the camps have been cleared out.
It's little moments like that that shows the veteran status of Longzhu. When they had their jungler topside, they were under their turret. The moment they knew for sure that Ambition was topside, they were able to push in. Still get by far the least attention of any duo lane here at the World Championships. That lane control is oh so important to stop that being an Achilles heel for Longzhu.
End of the early game comes through, or sorry, the hyper early game, and it's 100 gold up for Ambition, getting an extra camp out against Cuz, who's into his own jungle just now as the Scuttle Crabs all despawn and the vision goes away. But Longzhu's still doing good elsewhere, of course. Their bot lane up 6, and so far so good for this squad, looking for the victory here as Cuz looks for the mid lane. Ambition right around him, a crown is low, looks for the flash, Naga gets it, and a flash away, but he's there to go down. The chase in is there, first blood comes through for Cuz, getting revenge against Ambition.
Crown was very clearly tunnel vision, did not see the initial EQ come in. The flash to course correct on point as well, and another game where BDD and Co get an early lead.
Cuz early visit towards the mid lane, and we'll see what they can do with it this time around, because this is Longzhu playing a much more standard team composition for the meta. We talked about this being the team where that is really the outlier, and especially for Khan himself, not playing a lot of his tanks. We'll have to keep an eye on him and see how he continues to play this matchup, because the Cho'Gath there are some things that are very important in this matchup. Having the rupture, keeping vision of the Shen to be able to interrupt, especially the early Stand United that can have huge impact. You definitely have to be able to keep some pressure up there and keep that vision, while also, as we said, not exposing yourself to those ganks that are fairly easy to set up.
And Kobe, it's not often that the team that comes in the favorite, the tournament favorite even, is the one rolling the dice first, but that's what game one represented for Longzhu. We're going to see the first game. The crowd had no idea this was coming. Very nicely capitalized on. Playing stuff from Cuz, who, like you mentioned, Freak, only started picking up the jungle jargon during this tournament when it was a big pick for everyone around the world in the weeks leading up.
And there's a lot of times where people will say, oh yeah, the flash for the knock up there after your EQ, a lot of times is not worth going for, because you don't bring the extra damage with you when you're flashing and you're just getting that CC. But because BDD was so close, they knew that it was for sure follow up there. He can add the damage on Orianna. All they needed was to keep Crown in place for another second there. And the double answer, you could see no hesitation. They immediately both follow up and then grab that first blood.
Because Longzhu is still very much this evolving squad, only one split behind them. It's actually Khan's first professional game on Cho'Gath, was never a pick that they looked to. He had very much his own unique champion pool during the course of the group stage. So he's very young and all his careers. No BD smashes down.
He's got the cleanse, he's going to wait for the stun. Here comes the ring into the top side. Shot going to find two for this one, but it's still, it's going to be the damage coming across the top, and the kill in for Crown in the mid lane. This one going to land. This could be Cuz dropping as well. 2 for 0 so far to Samsung Galaxy. Khan to be stunned up if they wanted, but there's no follow through to be had. Still 2-0, a great fight for the red side.
Yeah, Longzhu had an idea that there was going to be a possible counter gank here around mid lane, but instead of having Khan on the top side to try and interrupt the Stand United, they have him come down the river to join, and they started out before, or Samsung started out before he could even get close enough to have an impact. So the first Stand United, huge there for Cuvée. Samsung are able to right the mid lane ship. They get the kill. They get 2 kills actually for themselves, and then are able to steal away the second red.
Roaming first was Core JJ. He's now with Ambition, counter jungling the enemy red as well. So the timing, like you say, Kobe, oh so important, getting that extra objectives after the trade up. Going on to the Cho'Gath for the first time in competitive play, there are those nuances, like where is the right place to be against a Shen? Is it just in his eye line trying to interrupt the Stand United or make the counter rotation? It's other picks which can react first, but much more difficult to predict.
Maybe he can recover for himself into this one. 0-0-0 and down 5 CS right now. Ku has definitely had a better game so far early on. One of the best top winners in Korea. Flash of the Gorilla. Getting ready for the possible stun from Ruler. Of course, you're seeing the power of that duo. Easy to push in the Dazzle stun, the crystallized Starlight where it needs to go, and looking pretty well for himself.
Really respecting the level 6 that was just pinged. Extra burst there for Ruler. Prey only got it on the back end after a couple minions went down.
Oh, bottom lane might get dove here. Remember, the last play was around mid lane, and Crown didn't have to use his ultimate to get there. Now they're definitely outnumbered.
Two kills to cut him off properly. Here comes the wall. There's nowhere for Longzhu to go. Ulti pop as well. They're going to be durable for this one. 1 kill. Make it a second one. The barrier pop means nothing in the second Kill comes in, 2 for 0 in the bot lane.
They didn't even have to mute any damage with the Taric ultimate there because they had the 4-2 easy dive for Samsung. Now let's see if they can actually continue to pressure this turret. Doesn't look like there's any defense on the way.
And they're playing Longzhu's game as well. Double control ward, triple control ward now on the bot side. Playing around the bot side, no interest in ganking the Cho'Gath, getting the maximum value, 2 kills, and also the first turret.
Impressive for Samsung yet again. Playing to the team composition here, they're able to press the momentum here in the game after the successful counter around mid lane. Crown, easy ultimate, very nice roam on that Taliyah early on to really start to open up the map now.
Pressure may just continue. 2,000 gold is pretty nice at 9 minutes here. Watch this fight again.
There's no information at all on the bot side. They've been playing around top side, expecting that Khan would be the recipient of all the ganks. Gorilla only level 5 at the start. From there, academic for Samsung Galaxy.
A good pressure out of Crown, of course, getting the gank back into the mid lane to give him the pressure after the first blood from BDD. Of course, those flashes were down. Smart of Ambition to get into that lane, bring down Kube at the level 6 gen, and those 2 kills cut Crown that roam pretty easily, and he made a lot happen in that bot lane here as the power spikes continue to push forward. This gold lead, nothing to smirk at right now for Samsung Galaxy.
And again, gold leads are one thing, and item completions are another as well. Not only are Longzhu in a gold hole right now, but you're about to hit that point where Rageblade is half completed. Your next purchase would have to be a big one. You do not want to go back for a small purchase because Blasting Wand does not give you combat effectiveness, and there's going to be a power trough here. In addition to the gold disparity, you know, the power disparity is huge.
And that's why Samsung don't go top side and try to get another turret, try to increase the pace of the game and allow answering gold to go to Longzhu. What you want to do in this scenario is make Prey and Gorilla accountable for as long as possible because they just don't have the items to take standing trades against their opponents. Tristana has the option of staying in lane or just using the BF sword to rotate around. They're doubling down on their advantage. Longzhu actually being able to get any semblance of control bot side after what happened with the Taliyah who can run, with the control wards that are already prepared, is difficult. So you're actually ending up denying CS to the Prey and Gorilla, even though it's only 11 minutes into the game.
You see right now, life is difficult for this dual lane. Not a lot of wards in that jungle. There is one that spots the Sejuani moving down, so they know what's going on. And as you're seeing, Gorilla playing very far back as a result, kind of Prey the same, but it allows the wave to push into that tier 2 turret. There's always that threat of Ambition coming down. Crown the same. And this, again, should be spotted to a certain extent. The rewards around, but how much can you really do against Ruler here?
Yeah, even if they spot it, you know, a Shen State United is available as well, and all you can really do is try and defend at the turrets here for Longzhu. They're doing their best to clear out some of the vision, but the threat is so big here from Samsung.
Nice smite. All right, Cuz got something. The little victories, because maybe they won't get the big ones here into this one. So doesn't go off the hole.
Goes out a ward, smites the big chicken away. Whew. Nice to hear.
Unstoppable.
Irony of this game cannot be lost on viewers, though. We're seeing Samsung use the same sword, in fact, stab Longzhu with the sword they've been wielding for the better part of the summer season into Worlds, playing the same sort of style. The Taliyah certainly one of the big comps that Longzhu default over to. Longzhu now adapting more of the meta, going for the Cho'Gath, and Samsung executing in a way that they never really were able to in the group stage.
There's been nothing but praise for all of the players on Longzhu from every other player at the Worlds Tournament about how good they are at their position and how little they could do against this team. But Samsung are just swinging away here, back-to-back games, and this one looks very good for them as well.
And Longzhu fall behind with these Rageblade carries. They largely like to keep a 4-man group and have Prey solo down at minion way, just queuing them, just farming to get to the Rageblade spike. That blasting wand, everyone who plays AD carry shakes their head, knows how bad that feels for now. They still can't look for standing DPS trades unless they know for sure the enemy AD carry is going to be out of it. They'll be low on that.
Ooh, the knockup actually gets him through, and the polybomb there as well. Shocker buys even more time, and the kill does come in. The layer crowd control. I don't know if Ruler had the chance to flash, but it never did hit the ability, and now Riptail out of it. Doesn't run out of patience, it does though.
Say no more, Papa Smithy. He is out of it. Ruler is dead. Flash and Barrier are available, but he just got CC'd from 100% to 0 almost.
Got a bit like week 1 Ruler, where he was really struggling to have those late game impacts. Picked it up for week 2, but dying with everything available. It seemed like an impossibility. Could have said the same about some of Longzhu's decision making in game 1.
Especially the barrier, right?
You can cast it all time.
Because if you buy a little bit more time with the Stand United coming in, you know.
Ben's there, maybe he can get the dodges, yeah, but either way, it did land well for Longzhu, so something to go back into this one still. 1,500 gold to come back from as we watch this one more time.
Maybe he didn't think he needed it, but here we go. They get the interrupt initially, and then Gorilla immediately polymorphs afterwards. Shockwave is able to get that.
That was actually a surprising amount of burst damage I'm going to put out there. It looked like 400 HP, and then he was dead, so still no excuses. Could have gone for the earlier barrier, but taken down, and look what's completed. Rage Blade out of nowhere for the side of Prey. They also have already completed the Ardent Sensor, so when it comes to standing damage trades, the game kind of takes a left turn that wasn't on the cards until Ruler made that critical solo mistake.
An important power spike certainly for Varus, and it's a really nice linear growth from here. Hurricane's great to buy. Blade of the Rune King you would suspect against triple melee. You know, especially tank melee, he's going to get plenty of damage out of that one, so Prey's going to be pretty happy skilling throughout the rest of this one. Art Center done on both these sides as well, of course. And yeah, I think Longzhu have kind of crusted over some of the really difficult parts of this game and could look quite a bit better. We're going to see if they keep this one going as the fight for the blue buff is in, but it's in Fog of War. Can't quite get that one. No slow to land thanks to Frost Armor, and blue will be handed over to BDD. Gets that cleanly enough. Ooh, they cut him off, actually. Gives a little bit of extra free time to Ruler, but only gets a few auto attacks off. Pulls Dagger with the Satchel Charge and a half HP turret as long as he looks for back a little bit more. Prey won't pull the ultimate. Rocket Step would be there in time.
Again, when you look at the bottom lane, it's not that big of an issue because if they're both close to each other, they cannot join these fights. Yes, the teleports are available, but both of them can interrupt each other. So both of these 4-man squads defending very aggressively here. And as you said, the Rift Herald is available for Longzhu if they really want to push it.
Not they're cheeky at all. Half health turret would go down. A little bit of a stun. Now Khan's going to be careful getting away with it. Does not get pushed back, but he's got to watch out for taunt range. He's going to kite them back and stay alive as BDD was coming over to save his life. Cuz nearby as well, meaning a soon 3v2 means no more fights to be had.
Often see the smooth moves from the Trogat, but able to walk away there and not even have to use his flash. Top lane tug of war, kind of being all around the vision control. Longzhu being able to establish the 2 control wards around their blue buff have been able to actually push up and equalize lane pressure with Samsung, despite how the early game went and the globals available. Samsung, they know the Weaver's Wall, of course, on cooldown for a little bit longer, so the pace slowing down a little bit, given how things started, is the first part of a multi-part process to bring Longzhu back into the game.
It is just so strange. You talked about how backwards this game feels with Samsung Galaxy winning early, Longzhu saying, all right, we'll actually play for team fights and not the 4-1. We're hoping to scale it to light. And Rule got a face check in the Prey. A lot of damage coming across. Jukes away from the stun, but this could be enough for Gorilla to drop down. Looking for a bit more. There's Guilty coming across. There's no way for Prey to get any more damage in. As the rest of the team joins in as well. Cuts quite low. The flash backwards. A nice socket to buy some time. In the wall, Weaver's Wall won't quite find the rest of the team, but it is BDD isolated, coming in by himself 1v4 and flashes just to get himself killed regardless. 1-0 Samsung.
He did not have the lane priority for BDD to walk straight down. He's pincered by Crown and taken down. Even if the 4v4 fight was so even, it's now not 4v4.
Ooh, a drop comes in though, kill through for Khan, getting one for himself, with the trade back is Cuz gonna lose his life. A nice little bit of damage out of Kuve's Shen. One for on the bot side. Still, though, it means lane pressure for Samsung Galaxy in this top turret to fall.
Exactly. Samsung still with the extra man advantage here, and they will claim this objective afterwards. Can I just say that we should have all fights start with 80 carries walking point blank into each other?
Sure, okay.
Makes the beginning extremely exciting there, and we did get to see, again, Samsung with the ability to join the fight faster. Crown came in here on the Talia, and then as you said, the kill that goes over is BDD walking up the river here on the Orianna in the flank.
Own weapons being used against him in a knockout best of 5. We see the replay. Ruler's called to return to lane because he has ambition and call JJ around. First, not massive, not enough there. You see the Cosmic Radiance come down, but it's all about the minimap here with the mid laners joining.
Exactly. Look at the minimap. BDD is walking up the river, but Talia gets to make up that entire distance, and all of a sudden, you're left on the wrong side there.
Yeah, and he almost got over the wall, couldn't quite do it, only got over Weaver's, not the actual Summoner's Rift one, so stuck on the wrong side of that corner. Too bad. It was close, and of course the re-engage. A lot of first damage out of a mission.
What's
take him down first. If there's any sort of frontline pressure here, but it ends up being 1-for-1, and we already knew the minion wave was supporting Samsung, picking up 2 turrets to 0 so far in this game.
Really pretty safe on that one. Gets the rocket jump in time to get out of the rupture from Khan, but Mountain Drake alive, and with Ruler on the other side of the map, this could be a little bit of something. Kube has teleport, though, if he wants to join this fight, or he might give it away.
Again, Longzhu are on a timer here. Both side lanes pushing for Samsung. They could collapse at any moment here. Teleport starting to channel for Shen.
Around backside, oh, it's going to be a pickup there for the blue team, and here comes the Giant, the vulnerability. The first kill coming through already for Crown. 1 for 0, and Cub's going to drop, making it a second one. And it's going to be a Giant stop on the backside. This could be everything they need. Shotgun to buy a few seconds, but it doesn't matter. A triple kill coming across 2. Actually back in, but Khan not going to lose his life. BDD the last one to remain here, but he's in a 1 versus 3, and Crown gonna have the damage. King me, a quadra kill for Samsung's mid laner.
Samsung are setting the pace of this game, the tempo of this game. They decide to fight. Prey does not have the 2 items he traditionally does have, because Longzhu are the ones deciding when to fight traditionally. Tradition's gone, opposite day is here, and Samsung Galaxy are careening through mid.
Yeah, the game just cracked wide open here for Samsung. They're able to get tremendous amount of pressure with 2 turrets in mid lane, huge minion wave pushed into the bottom lane, able to clean so much off of the map after this.
And we know Samsung Galaxy has this power. They had this run themselves in the last split, or last year. We'll see this fight again first, though.
BDD once again is separated from his team. Look at him hopelessly walk forwards and back, forwards and back. Doesn't even have flash to try to go for an aggressive flash over the wall. Prey was getting auto attacks up, but unfortunately it was a Sejuani or an altered Cosmic Radiance target. He could do nothing.
There have been so many questions for Crown with his summer performance in the LCK very much lacking. You know, which Crown will we see here at the World Championships? How much are we going to get out of Crown on this stage? And he's definitely showing up here. Huge plays for him so far.
And as much applause from Samsung themselves as the audience here in Guangzhou. Again, I want to bring up the point I did before the rudely interrupting replay showed up here. Samsung Galaxy, last year around this time, put their new roster together, beginning of summer split. Crown got the start, Core JJ, and the rest of the squad all lined up here. And they made it to the World Finals. Almost out of nowhere, they were a top 4 finisher in the LCK, and they made that beautiful run. And in spring, Crown was the MVP. It seemed like they would keep it going. They'd be such a strong team, but summer, it started lacking. Crown himself started being overlooked. BDD was then the MVP of the summer split, and Longzhu was the new hotness. And looks like Samsung Galaxy looking to reclaim that crown.
You guys remember the opening day tease in the week 1 of groups, week 2 of groups. A lot of people were saying, we got to Worlds. This is the place. What happened before doesn't matter. And I think when people looked at this game, they felt the same way. They were like, there was a regular season. There was a spring and a summer. But think about this tournament. Longzhu's been on a tear, and Samsung have looked weak. But again, this is Longzhu versus Samsung. It's a Korea versus Korea match. It is an extension of what happened in the summer season. So actually coming in here, you can see that actually the earlier tournament meta has been turned on its head, and Samsung can play proactive as well as Longzhu.
And even last year at Worlds, in Korea versus Korea, best of 5, people did not expect Samsung to push SKT far at all. Yet we got 5 games in that series. And here, at least we're going to get that. Samsung don't want to even let Longzhu have that many.
And it's been a pretty remarkable run. I know a lot of people coming in saying, why isn't KT Rolster here? Samsung Galaxy, they look like pushovers this one, but they won that regional final match to get the spot, and now up against the toughest competition you could probably have at Worlds, the undefeated Longzhu up until now, looking very solid. They won game 1, game 2 looking good as well. 6,500 gold after 22 minutes is a sizable advantage. Looking to close it out to be a 2-0 start in the best of 5.
Wherever Core JJ is, very difficult for Longzhu to do anything, because you can just pop the Cosmic Radiance if the team is grouped. Talia will rotate first. Shen will rotate first over the Cho'Gath. Basically, wherever Samsung goes, you can see Longzhu going one way, and that's defensively. And basically the whole map, especially the Baron side, is controlled by Samsung.
Samsung's comp is so difficult to deal with for Longzhu at this point, because Samsung have so many tools to start out the fights, and then, as you mentioned so many times here with the Taric, they have the tools as well to ensure that they can survive the duration of that fight. Makes it very difficult for Longzhu to try and navigate those big ultimates.
They're definitely an exceptional Baron support here. AoE Ardent Sensors, even on the tanks and the mages, actually can make quite use out of the auto attacks. Ambition taking away the Wolf Camp here, getting more and more farm away from Cuz. Khan, ulti grabs himself the red buff, no chance.
How many times do we have to see Samsung push in, contest, push up vision, and then go back to the Baron that we know there's been no ability for Longzhu to ward before they use the other thing Tara can do so well. We see it this time. They have very fast Baron power, and Longzhu, understandably, are on the back foot and slow.
Teleport coming in, but the Weaver's ball prevents it. Cub's gonna try. He can ult, he can flash, but it's half HP. Doesn't look at knockback, but does get stunned up. Here's the ulti pop. This could be the team fight. Samsung not quite able to kill Cuz. This is the Terra ulti down. Cataclysm a bit early. Shocker going up by the front line. That is not major damage. Stoneblade pops here by Khan. Staying alive a bit longer. Finds the silence. Push back into the team. Watch out for Prey. Down a half HP from a crit out of Ruler. This will be a disengage.
What a close skirmish right there. Timing a little bit off, but in the end, nobody going down. And Longzhu did stop the Baron. So at that objective completed, even though it cost them the Cho'Gath teleport. See?
Trying again. Stun on the Cho'Gath. They're going to walk forward. Prey at half HP. No easy way into the fight. Flashes up on everyone but Cuz here. Crown winning around the wide.
Samsung trying to bait for the Stand United engage there. They had Cuvée in base, waiting to pull the trigger, but Longzhu again, do not step out of line.
And Samsung, just like game one, eventually became a game of chicken around the Baron with the Malzahar. They can just have ambition, start Baron, peel off, Warmock's healing comes out, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and wait for that colossal mistake that we did see a couple of times in the first series. So the Baron focus worked in game one, so far doing fine, but do note, second item completed by Prey, but it is not the Hurricane. It's not for the AoE. He's trying to buff up the damage and hope maybe some magic resist shred will help out the Orianna Shockwave.
Magic resist itself, of course, pretty useful against Taliyah, but this is not, I would say, the best team fight item you could go for here. AoE Ardent Sensor is just so strong, and all the on-hit damage from Rageblade the same. And we'll see if it pays off, but I am not looking positively on Prey's single target damage output.
See if that's a huge effect or not. Yeah, a lot of times when judging the AD carry buys and the pros of Wit's End to me are almost always focused heavily on the defense part and the magic resistance that you're getting with it. So we'll see if he's able to survive it by small margins, and the magic damage threats are definitely there on Longzhu, or I mean on Samsung to threaten him. And Prey has had success with these, half offensive, half defensive builds before. Yeah. We'll see if this one's actually going to be a breaker, because Samsung has so much control, and they're starting up Baron yet again.
Again, the attempt. Good use. That's now uncooled. 8,000 health left from the Baron. They're going to peel off as Cordier goes at about half HP. Weaver's Wall looking for the engagement. They found the stun. Looking for the flashback. Prey going to stay alive, but Cuz going to lose his life 1-0 on this. The re-engage, and they're going to get the second one. Godlike as Crown continues. 100% kill participation. 13 kills in 26 minutes.
It's so easy for Samsung. There's no teleport on Khan, and of course, Stand United and teleport available from Samsung. This time they got the turn they wanted. One member goes down. They Goomba stomp through with the Tristana, and they just turn back onto the map.
The biggest difference is that we always talk about teams successfully using Terran and teams failing with it, is that you have to have forms of crowd control to force the fights and ensure the engagements during the invulnerability. Samsung just forced this so hard immediately as soon as Longzhu come down the river to face check. Ambition is in there. Stand United on top of him to Leo Wall, and there's no fighting back.
Yeah, Cho'Gath is slowly walking. There's nothing he can do. The fight is over before he even comes into the picture. Maybe buys Gorilla a couple more seconds of life. You're right, Kobe. They may have Orianna and Jarvan, which sounds like an initiation combo. It's not going to be threatening the backline. It's not going to be able to get big damage there. And Prey, to me, probably went Wit's End, because they're not going to choose when a fight starts. He's probably going to dump a lot of Hurricane bolts into the Cosmic Radiance. He's just trying to survive.
Do that, but it's going to be pretty difficult. The gold lead almost 10,000 right now, a 25% gold lead nearly for Samsung Galaxy. You see down the line, every single member has more items, more levels, more gold, more everything. As another turret's going to fall right here, making it over 10k now. 10.5. Samsung Galaxy poised, making a 2-0 start against almost every single expectation.
Longzhu looking completely out of sorts here against Samsung, and the questions are already arising of how will they be able to recover in this series, if at all, after such a strong showing here in game number 2 for Samsung as they continue to pressure.
Yeah, more and more damage coming across. Continue wave for this run at half HP. Another engage in the top side. 2v1 against Cuvée. He's got flash though if he needs it. The silence has already worn off. He's not going to go across the wall just yet. There he does. And gets away from Cataclysm. Burns nothing important.
No idea how that was expected to work. He was holding onto his cooldown. Still has flash available as well. Does mean they're outnumbered on the bot side as well.
He can continue. Shockwave not going to go quite the right time. Proper buffering from Ruler. Casts it late enough. The Shockwave lands and then Rocket Jump comes through.
He's missed a couple of those up, so we'll compliment Ruler that time, actually getting the priority right. Brown happily going side lane. Khan hasn't been able to itemize too further into anything real. It's backs away.
And so continuing to try and use the Baron buff on all 3 lanes, pushing in these minions and chipping away at the turrets. Here comes the Weaver's Wall to help out with some isolated damage on mid.
Locks out BDD, and that means bot turret's going to fall mid lane. Sure to drop as well. The damage is in. 2 more turrets have fallen. 15,000 almost the lead. The sun comes across. This could be the fight. That closes the game. A knock-up there, but no one's going to fall. It's only Prey dropping and Ruler safe on the backside. The chase continues to stun the lane because this Jarvan could be losing his life. He's going to stay alive a little bit longer. Ambition can't quite find the knock-up, but a 5v4 as the team re-engages. Bot lane inhibitor to fall. Cuz forced to retreat. Khan unable to do anything in the front line. A flash actually out. They were afraid of dying to Crown's damage output. 14-5, under 30 minutes. A stomp of a game so far for Samsung Galaxy. They've pulled in Khan. He can't survive it. Maybe he can. Is he going to limp away and stay up there with the chase into BDD? A little bit more as Cuz going to fall. The second one to drop is Gorilla. And a nice knockback by Crowd looking for another quadra. Not yet going to have it though. BDD staying alive in the back lines. And it just simply doesn't matter. 2 versus 5. Samsung Galaxy will not be stopped. Crowd. Perfect kill for Invasion. A sub 30-minute Game 2 win for Samsung Galaxy.
Samsung looking so good right now. Game number 1, they play as expected. Survive the early game, team fight to victory. But game number 2, they push the tempo. Shen, Talia, roaming, creating these plays for themselves and being able to push that victory so early against Longzhu, delivering blow after blow.
That pressure draft from Samsung honestly made Longzhu look ordinary after their extraordinary run, winning the LCK in the rookie split of Cuz. On the Royal Road was Cuz all the way to the World Final. He's a couple of steps away now because they find themselves 2-0 down. So much of a compliment, though, to Crown this game. It felt like there was a border that was set up every time BDD wanted to enter a fight. Never on his terms could they use the Orianna, who had farmed in the early game, and they kind of ran basically every engagement and left Longzhu to just watch on in awe.
The team rallied around Crown. After the first blood was given over, that was the first huge play. They countered the second one, and they believed in him, and he paid them back.
Well, they paid him back nicely. 2-0 so far. Samsung Galaxy looking to maybe make it a complete sweep and 3 straight. But now to hear more about that 2-0 start, let's send it down to our analyst desk.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Best of 5s are all about adaptation, and Longzhu has to take a stab at it, remaining on the blue side. They do it by targeting the Malzahar of all things. What are our thoughts here on how Longzhu decided to react to the loss in Game 1?
I thought the Malzahar was fine. Clearly, they did not know how to deal with it, but I actually don't think the composition was much of a big deal. Giving Talia was the big issue because it is a power pick for BDD. However, I'm with the Zale on the assessment for Game 1. Even bigger in Game 2. Execution. Is this even Longzhu? Are they here?
It just doesn't feel like the same team, right? I watched so much of them in LCK Summer, so impressed by them there, so impressed by them in the LCK playoffs, all the way, against SKT, looking dominant. Then in groups, it just felt like they were impressing more and more and more, and you can say what you want about perhaps them having an easier group than we had thought. Maybe the comparisons were somewhat off there, but even just mechanical errors, it feels like the decisions they're making, it feels like the way that they're playing the fights is not the same as what I have seen over the past few months.
I just want to give credit to Samsung for that, because I think Samsung are just playing so well. This draft, amazing, in my opinion. I think this draft was so good from Samsung.
From Samsung, yeah.
From Samsung, of course, because first of all, they have this setup with a Shen and a Talia, meaning it's so easy to either defend mid with Shen or go bot lane where you have a Taric that can set up a tower dive against a Lulu who can't stop it at all. So I love the setup for them with the overall comp. And I have this rule coming into Worlds saying BDD or Crown should never ever get Talia. Ever. And clearly, even when Koreans are playing each other, that should not happen.
Hey, look, Deficio, I didn't give it to them. You don't have to yell
I blame
at me.
you.
I did not.
I blame you.
This is not on me.
They banned Casio over Talia.
You know what I love about this, though, this game here, is it showed a different look for Samsung. We talked about the different ways that Samsung could win, right? They could draft late, stall it out, win past that 40-minute mark, or they have to index early and make plays happen, beat Longzhu early, and that's what they did here. The Shen and the Talia pick coming up big for them in that way.
And you have to give so much credit, I think, think, to Ambition, who has been everywhere, it feels like, in the early games, especially, it's not even like he's playing an early game jungle, he's not on Lee Sin, he's out ganking his opponent on a Sejuani and looking miles better than he did in group stage.
And they're just giving him comfort every time, and taking the Sejuani for him, not only making that big play middle, but here, as the Fisher was saying, you have the Talia, you go straight to the bottom lane, and this is after the bottom lane actually burns summoners out of the blue, so it just becomes such an easy setup for you that you know it's going to happen when you see the draft. This is a play that is just by the book. That's exactly what Samsung have been doing, and then you have the creativity that the Talia
There's your
brings,
stat line,
which
Azale.
closes it.
That's what you're looking for right there for Ambition, showing a lot of action in the early game and successful in that action.
And that's 0-3-0, not in one game. That's over 5 games, right? Like, pre-15 minutes, he did nothing. And he has been pivotal for them in the early games today.
Very much so.
Also, the replay we just saw right there once again shows why the comp made so much sense from Samsung's side, because when BDD is picking Orianna here against Talia, he's never going to assist his side lanes. And then it doesn't matter if you have these Lulu Varus that can actually push the bot lane, because they're never going to get any help. Talia can always go down first while Orianna is stuck there, add in then a jungler, maybe even a Shen ulti in a later fight, and then suddenly you have 5-man bot lane just killing Longshore right there.
You do have to question, though, even before the Talia was down there, even before the Shen was down there, you know, this is supposed to be far and away the best bot lane in the world, drafting an advantageous 2v2, and going just about even, right? You know, where are the advantages for Longzhu that we were expecting coming into this? It's supposed to be, you know, maybe it's Khan and Kuve going close, going head-to-head, but everyone really thought that Longzhu's bot lane was the superior.
Crumbs, get in here before I push this forward.
Well, I felt like the draft from Longzhu, they gave up the win condition that they typically have, giving away the Talia and then Khan succumbing into the Cho'Gath. He has never played a tank in his entire LCK career. And now they do it after they get smoked game 1. Not too confident.
I think just with the bot lane point, you can't apply pressure yourself in a 2v2 if the enemy mid laner and even enemy top laner can go to your lane so easily. It just makes it impossible to play aggressive. You will get ganked, Taric will stun you, you will die, and it stops Praying Gorilla from being able to win lane.
Right, but we're looking at Praying Gorilla, right? One of the best bot lanes in the world, and they are struggling. I do want to take a look at the dragon fight that took place in 19 minutes. This is an ace and a quadra kill here for the mid laner, brought to you by Acer Predator.
This fight just starts out with a beautiful wall out of Crown. You have a 4v5 already, so it's almost impossible to lose this fight at this point. They try their best, but can you really do anything about it when the setup is so pristine out of Samsung?
And I think the Crown really also deserves a massive amount of credit because he's another guy, if you're looking statistically, he really did not get much done, you know, in the group stages. Either him and Ambition have been playing so much better, and the fact that they are rising to the occasion is super impressive.
And you talk about the importance of Prey for this Longzhu squad. Of course, when you're getting zeroed out at the beginning of a fight, it's hard for you to put damage out, but I just want to throw this number out for you. 764 was his DPM through group stages, 523 so far here in the series. That's down 32%. So again, when we're looking at maybe the best performing member on the team in terms of their win conditions and one of the big veterans on the squad, he's not putting up the numbers that he needs to be in order for them to come away with a win.
He's getting shot down first in laning phase and then in the fights here. The Janna was banned away by Samsung, which was smart because Lulu is not as good at protecting picks like a Varus. When you are playing some of these comps here with a Talia, they can also get onto him because of the insane creativity from Crown. Like, those walls are allowing his team to get to the backline of Longzhu in every single fight, or stopping one member of the backline from even dealing damage.
Longzhu has to put 3 wins together in a row here to move on to the semifinals. They have elected to move to red side, but let's remember, this was a 6-0 team, the most dominant team coming out of the group stages. Yes, there's arguments to be made about the group that they were in, but here they are, down 2 games in a best of 5, not looking like the team that we thought they would be coming in. What do? What's the problem?
Well, when we saw Longzhu coming into this tournament, we saw them as the new greatest team ever, but there was one flaw, one possibility for them to fail, and it's that it was a team without international experience. 3 rookies, relatively new to the scene, alongside Praying Gorilla. We thought, are they going to perform very well? Group stages proved that in fact it was too easy. They did not get tested enough there, and now against a real opponent, a real tough opponent, a Korean team, the strongest number 2 seed, it's too much for them.
And to me, as far as what do you have to do, I think you need to go to what has worked for your team. You need to build some confidence. Give Khan a counter pick in the top lane. Allow him to actually do what made Longzhu this spectacular team, to take over a lane, to get pressure in the side, and allow their bot lane to try to be the ones absorbing the pressure and not necessarily having the onus on them. Because as you said, post 6, it's so hard for them to do anything into a draft like this. You know, go back to what has worked all year long.
I think going to red side is basically step number 1 to get that potential counter pick as well. I think if you can get a Talia, awesome. Is probably going to get banned away. I think take Sejuani away. Give it to yourself. Get a stronger front line.
The easy part was choosing red side.
It was actually step number 1.
No, but yes, it's a necessary step, but it's the easy step. The question will be, what does Samsung have? You know, some kind of ingenious plan for the blue side here in Champs League. We'll find out soon enough, rather. Samsung Galaxy are up 2-0 against the current LCK champion. See if Samsung can close out the series against Longzhu Gaming when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Crowd is low, looks for the flash, Naga gets it. The flash away, but he's starting to go down. The chase in is there. First blood comes through for Cuz. Here comes the wall. There's nowhere for Longzhu to go. Ulti-pop as well. They're going to be durable for this one. 1 kill, make it a second one. The barrier pop means nothing, and the second kill comes in. 2 for 0 in the bot lane. 1 for 0, and Cuz going to drop, make it a second one. And it's going to be a giant stop in the backside. This could be everything they need. Shotgun to buy a few seconds, but it doesn't matter. A triple kill coming across 2. Actually back in, but Khan not going to lose his life. BDD the last one to remain here, but he's in a 1 versus 3, and Crowd gonna have the damage. King Me, a quadra kill for Samsung's mid laner. Samsung Galaxy will not be stopped. Crowd, perfect kill participation, a sub 30-minute game 2 win for Samsung Galaxy.
If you want to follow the best of the Rift, then you need T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. We've doubled our coverage, so you can stream Worlds in more places than ever before. With T-Mobile, don't miss a moment from the first battle, all the way to the lifting of the Summoner's Cup. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.
뭐 일단 저야 두 숨쉬에서 삼성 좀 피해줬으면 좋겠다 이 생각은 했죠. 왜냐면은 어쨌든 한국 팀끼리는 서로 이제 잘 알기도 하고 부담스럽죠 서로에게. 그리고 뭐 세계 대회인데 한국 팀이 많이 올라가면 올라갈수록 저희 나라의 위상이 올라가는 거나 마찬가지인데 그중 하나는 꺾이는 거잖아요. 뭐 저희가 됐든 삼성이 됐든 아쉬워요.
Right now, looks like that shame might actually be Longju's surprise to many. Right now, is down 0-2 against Samsung Galaxy. Obviously, a great effort out of the upstarts here, the ones who clawed their way in by winning the regional qualifier against KT Rolster, clawing their way through the group stage. It was actually a bit close for them as well. They had dropped 2 games, and very few predicted they would have such a good showing so far, but Longju against the ropes.
I have to say as well, a lot of the people were looking at, ambition to be punished, the bottom lane to be punished,
Crown to be punished.
Exactly, and they're all playing so much better. This, ambition is playing defensively in the early game on this Sejuani for a large part, but he's playing it so well, and he's got off all these counter ganks that it really makes me think. What is the big change that Longju are going to make on the red side here? Right. Now that they get the 2 picks in answer. To try and change the course of this series.
And I think they have to hope for more than just a top lane pick being different. The mid laners have been worlds apart. I talked about it last game. It was actually Crown who had such a bad summer split. BDD was the MVP from the regular season. Co-MVPs with Kuro, of course, from Afrika, but this was the mid lane that you were like, BDD, wow, he's had so many deathless games all split. He's had less than 1 death per game on average all summer. He's averaging 3.5 deaths per game so far against Samsung. He's being punished not only by Crown, but also by Ambition, actually getting ganks off in the mid lane, and it does not look like that same Longju.
And look, Orianna is still ultra comfort for BDD, but usually it was Orianna as a wave clear tool, while Khan was one of these big split pushing top side champions. Because they were denied red side for 2 games, they never got an advantageous matchup purely in the 1v1. So that meant BDD was the only one really with trumps, and him being held down and also Khan being largely trivialized by Cube once again stepping up leaves Longju Gaming on the precipice of a sweep.
And of course, as we switch sides, we have the bans look a little bit differently. Jace the one side, and Galio actually holding up the mantle of the blue side ban here, as Zaya continues to be dropped out from Longju Gaming. They had first picked up the first one as a sort of denial, and now they're unwilling to give it away. Janna going to be added to that pool once again, and one final ban to come through from Longju before first pick.
Janna ban makes so much sense because either they'll be taking Lulu at first pick if it's available, or they can return to the Sejuani. They basically force a ban, force the hand of Longju, and they can just take the Sejuani that so far has looked very impressive from Ambition.
Nobody's been able to punish it early on, and it's been such a big part of the initiation for this team. Ambition playing very well so far, doing a lot for the team, but because the Jarvan might go right back to it. It just has not had that effectiveness.
And you can see the priority in getting maybe a comfortable mid laner in. Of course, we know the Malzahar is still up. That was so scary before, but I feel like Taliyah can do reasonably well in the matchup. Taliyah going to be grabbed up for BDD. True comfort for him with his Galio off the table. Jarvan, I think, still likely to be an early pickup here for either Cuz or Khan.
Ultra comfort for Cuz as well if he does go with the Gragas. So cycling through options here. Certainly a sort of comp that might be put together to be a very high priority on the Varus with only the Zaya and the Callista off the board.
Yeah, Lulu definitely, Lulu definitely has performed extremely well on this Tristana. And I'm curious too, whoa, actually,
yeah,
they're gonna go right back to.
If it's not broken, don't fix it. Of course, the Taliyah's gone. Crown can't play the same champion, but Samsung Galaxy only adapting when the champions are banned away from them more often than not. It's like, look, this composition is working. We are out team fighting and Ambition on Sejuani's making the early game work. There's nothing wrong with this.
This time around, though, as you talked about, Longju, they can have a lot higher pressure here. They can draft for a lot more power, a lot more of that tempo control. Taliyah here has been huge for BDD. We mentioned how big of an impact Crown had in the last game, but BDD during the regular season was a monster with it.
And I love the point you make there, Kobe, because it felt like the Taliyah was actually the thing that allowed them to straddle the line between, hey, we're going to be really powerful in the late game fights with the Sejuani and the Taric, but also they had the double roams of the Taliyah and the Shen. Having both those things meant that Longju really had no time to act. So not having that here, Samsung needs to find an early game pressure point somewhere to at least stop Longju from just playing the standard Longju style at least one game in this best of 5.
See what that they can fix for themselves. Of course, we saw the adaptation of Gragas over Jarvan, a bit more reliable. Engage now that Jarvan's gone, of course, as well. There's still more to be played that Khan could bring out, but they obviously know with the counter pick available for the red side for a good matchup for Khan, they're trying to get rid of the scariest options.
And what it means also is it's putting Kuz on comfort. Jarvan is away from comfort for him. They want to use the last pick as a counter pick, at least on paper, playing around with the Trundle. They're just going to lock in Trundle. I guess it could be a flex. Gorilla has played it on support, but not in Korea. We have not in 2017 had the Trundle support.
But Trundle is good into Tarek melee versus melee matchups. Sure, he's not probably a sense user. Maybe he does the Bond of Stone run. That's, of course, a possibility, but we're no Longzhu not the item. So Lissandra gonna come out in the mid lane for Crown.
It's an old favorite. He was a big Lissandra player years ago. We have had no Lissandra outside of Kuzan once or twice.
And it, again, answers that question we had before. Oh, this hard engage, you know, utilizing Tarek effectively requires that you have multiple forms of this super hard engage to ensure you get this team fight. Now they've got Lissandra who can also go in with the Shen, with the Sejuani. This is, again, Samsung with a very similar strategy and kind of expecting the evolution, the adaptation of Longzhu to take away the Taliyah, yet having the answer prepared.
It does mean more playmaking here on Longzhu. Of course, Prey and his comfort. Varus can start fights, BDD the same, Cousin the Gragas, as well as Gorilla's Rakan. So Longzhu can turn up the pace here in a matchup where it feels like they've been out-tempoed by Samsung Galaxy.
Now, Lissandra, let's think about it. Fell out of the meta because the effective range against most champions could really be punished, would often look for wave clear and be wave cleared on and harassed. In this matchup, Taliyah will have early push power, but Lissandra has the teleport, has very instant zone control, either with the offensive stun or just going for the self-ult, which in the late game will be very common. So trying to match fire with fire, it still should be front foot for the Taliyah in the early game, though. And the early game, to me, is the breaking point. If this early game goes super duper even, it's looking like Longzhu, even with the Taliyah, may find a brick wall.
There's so many interesting things here. With, you know, Lissandra ultimate, she could use it on herself to buy time for a Tarek ultimate to come down. If they could sync up those timers really well, that could be a good combo. But on the other side, there's a lot more control here for Longzhu this time around, with the ability to move champions around. With Gragas and Taliyah, there's a lot of displacement, so the options are definitely there, and Longzhu could kind of craft a better team fight for themselves.
Absolutely. 9 champions have hard crowd control in these competitions right now. It's going to be fun watching to see who can do what. And this might be the last time we see Summoner's Rift on stream here today. The blue squad, Samsung Galaxy, in their home colors this time around. The unexpected 2-0 start against the Korean champions in Longzhu game, but Ambition has had one of the series of his life right now. Great early gank pressure, good kills off in the mid lane. Crown bringing out his Lissandra now as well. Add a bit more spice.
And all the eyes are looking at Longzhu now. What will they show with their backs against the walls? On the precipice of being eliminated here, so surprisingly so early. Again, as you mentioned, Prey and Gorilla do have crowd control. They have initiation in their hands. These are the veteran players. The veteran players need to be drawn on in moments like these.
Biggest power from that crowd control will especially be at level 6, where they can turn things on instantly, and the Cosmic Radiance, the exact zoning, the exact team fighting, the Shen reaction may not be as valuable as it will be as the game goes on. So I'm looking to Longzhu to really focus what they can make happen around level 6. There's no inevitability about this game as it goes on.
Minions have spawned.
See Samsung Galaxy going to look for cheeky movement in the bottom brush for now. See if they don't find anyone here for themselves, as looks like Ambition may very well start at his own blue buff. Pretty easy for Sejuani to do so. That will indeed be the start, it looks like, here for Ambition. Prey, Gorilla also going to be in a similar boat, going to lane at the very start as Hans Trundle, or maybe BDD's Taliyah going to leash for Cuz on the Gragas. He's starting Raptors already, so here comes the attempt. 2v2 in the bot lane, and no attempt to be had. A little bit of poke damage out. Not going to land. A couple of love taps and a core JJ.
Flexibility to start at the advanced brush, because Sejuani, their single target ability to take camps, can equally happy start blue or red side. Does give the information to Longzhu, though. That's most likely a top side start for Ambition.
That early wave clear for Crown, 6-3 in farm. Some of this, I think, being that BDD has spent a little bit of time leashing, but either way, he's going to be okay for himself. And there's level 2, the attempted poke coming around, and now, of course, they can track the jungle pathing of Cuz. He will walk by this ward shortly.
Yeah, I love the bottom lane pushing up here, getting that deep ward. Even if they just see it move and just see a little bit of information on where Cuz is, does buy some time. Ooh, Ruler walks forward to dodge the CC from Gorilla.
That was pretty crucial because he wasn't level 2 yet, so no rock jump to come through. That could have been a small window for Longitude to use. Couldn't quite make it happen, though. Han, you can see, being pushed around a bit early on, using his one and only potion. And Kube out trading again, gets another grasp trigger off.
A lot of fans would have been surprised. The game plan largely today was for Space Control champions, tanks or CC-wise, and Ruler really focused on with a lot of these drafts because Prey has had the advantage over Ruler at Worlds 2017. It's been a poor tournament for Ruler after an excellent season where he was a picture of consistency and ambition. That feels good.
Yeah, he gets the heal off it as well. Gets the stun. Here comes Crown. Cuz gonna have to flash against the wall to get away. It looks like Body Slam wasn't quite ready for him.
Bottom lane control, bottom half of the map control here early on for Samsung Galaxy. So they can actually translate this into some extra advantages, into some gold values.
Certainly possible right now. Currently, the gold is in the favor of Longitude, the tune of 200, although it doesn't mean a ton. Kong currently the big leader here in this one, 20 to 13 in that top lane, but part of that is because he's pushed, gets level 4, goes down to put a ward down, drop the Scryer's Bloom as well, and help track to see what Ambition could be up to. He wants to keep his pressure going. Cuz not losing a beat, flash down, but still able to grab the Scuttle Crab.
Well, CS lead opening up for BD. I imagine that will continue, as like I mentioned in end of picks and bans. Does take a few levels and items before Talia can really match the wave clear tempo there that Talia Q is able to create. Not just top side, but Ganking Shen is optimistic.
It is right now. Corte again getting some deep wards across. Constantly these players trying to make sure they can track what the opposing junglers are up to when they're in Fog of War. That's when you're most afraid. And of course all these camps right now on cooldown waiting to respawn, so nothing to be afraid of just yet.
Very curious as well to see how Crown plays this lane with the teleport, because usually we'll see Lissandra, spam spells early on, try and wave clear, push out the waves very quickly, he'll hope to get those backs off, but sometimes she'll be contested in these waves and have to use the teleport to get back to lane. Currently though, Crown was able to get a pretty decent amount of space. There goes the teleport. So the early game teleport is forced out due to the mana issues. Ambition as well, gonna go head-to-head with Cuz here.
Flashless Gragas, Vitified on the top side, Cuba gonna immune some of the damage. Nice Spirit's Refuge, keep himself okay on that one. Doesn't get the attacks off. Now a stun on the Prey. Quick shield coming out to buy some time, but still lower health on this Varus. Samsung Galaxy doing quite well on this 2-on-2, and Prey and Gorilla are lauded by almost everyone as maybe the best bot lane in League of Legends. I would say almost inarguably the best bot lane in South Korea, and right now, ForgeJ and Ruler are measuring up to them so well, doing beautifully in this 2-on-2.
In the 2 versus 2 and in the team fight, so critically in this series, they performed extremely well. We'll have to see if Gorilla's able to get any roams off, or Stuart Khan will have those huge initiations that we've seen from teams like SKT that can change the entire face of the game.
My focus is on the tug of war for vision around mid side, because those double control wards, if Longju can ever get those, especially bot side, makes those turret dives bot side, or at least ganks onto the duo lane, so much more reliable. So far, Samsung do control the bot side of the map.
Crown's on a ward right now, and a control for BDD is going to get rid of this trinket for himself. He actually can track Crown pretty reliably with his own trinket, but here comes the first attempted invade. Again, Lu's ultimate start to become available. Crown has his, and Ambition can try to take away this. Gets it. Nicely done. The Gromp is his. Now a nice rocket up. Nice rocket jump, the Ruler. Again, timing it well. It's not terribly hard to do as long as you're paying attention, but still important that he landed this one. With lower health, but of course they know there's the re-engage possibility. Court today with the shield and the heal, and Ruler was fine.
The war continues here. Action hasn't necessarily been as lethal as it was in the previous games. We've hit on a couple of times how important mid lane priority is for both of these champions. Crown does not want to be following second because he did use his teleport, like you mentioned, Kobe, just to try to pressure in the mid lane. Ambition is playing so much on the front foot this series. Never thought to watch for Worlds would not have suggested it, as these intangibles, his ability to just suddenly step up seemingly out of nowhere, that really is why Ambition is highly regarded by analysts, because he has those weird intangibles that make him a super good player.
Again, the harass still coming through in his bot lane. You're seeing +2 currently, although that'll be answered easily enough by Prey. Should be 60 or so apiece farm-wise, these bot lanes are equally, so you can't give too much of a lead either way. Because waiting around the wings, reveals for a control ward, and then going to go for his second recall of the game.
Are we connected?
Ray pops the barrier. He is so afraid of going down. 300 health left on him. Then the re-engage from Scourge Jane. Not going to be had. Here comes the rock jump forward, though. Ruler going to burn his escape tools. Here comes Shen, though, back into the fight. It's going to be a 3v3 as Gorilla forced to run away, and looks like a pillar has stopped the Shen ulti.
Yeah, just the shield enough to scare them off there. Even though Khan is able to interrupt it on the top side, Ambition now has gotten off a base and is back out on the field. Level 6 available.
He's going to look for this one, because out of mana on this, he's got to look for a way out as BDD look to rejoin. Won't quite got up for JJ, but the damage output might be enough. Couple more shots to do him in. One more auto might be lethal. The heal comes in, and the re-engage for Crown puts him away. Keep his teammates alive, because dangerously low smites for health. Here comes the backline axis. There's Ambition now on the wrong side of this battle, finding a bit more. They're running back towards the team. The blue buff still whittling away, but looks like blue will be secured by Samsung Galaxy.
They're able to fight their way out and take the blue buff prize in the end, even without the Stand United having been burned earlier. Samsung survived.
A beautiful passage of play that was bloodless, but still advantaged Samsung. Picking up the blue buff, they were first to contest. So close to the kill in mid lane as the heal charge kept poor JJ alive. Crown was second to get there, understandably, still no teleport. But his support not going down means no instant gold lead to Long.
BDD wish he had a little bit more mana, a little bit more juice in the tank. But such a valuable resource early on, and nothing left.
Now we reset back on the game. Equal gold, pretty much equal experience across the lines. Levels, one small lead for Ambition, currently 6 as Cuz is not, but it shouldn't take too long. And this guy on your screen right here, this Sejuani, 3 games in a row. It is just worth repeating time and again how much better he has been in the knockout stage, not being picked off, getting the ganks up successfully, night and day.
And look, it's so hard to explain why Ambition is highly regarded, why I respect him as the best jungler in this tournament based on the top 20 rankings, because he can have passages of play, as the 0 kill involvements in the first 15 minutes shows, for long stretches that make you go like, wait, why is this guy great? He's not the explosive jungler that Peanut was at Worlds last year, for example. But his ability to really be smart in the mid to late game wasn't a factor in the group stage, where early game he was falling away. But he can also step up, read his enemy jungle with a couple of days to prep, actually have a system in place to shut down what has been so good for Long.
And he's a player who's almost been replaced as well. The spring split at the beginning of this year, Samsung Galaxy signed Haru. And Haru played about 3 times as many games as Ambition did throughout the spring split, and Samsung Galaxy did pretty well for themselves. I think a 3rd or 4th place finish there in the LCK. And then in summer it changed, and Ambition was getting the starts more again. He was actually being much more successful as a player, getting the starts here at Worlds as well, but has regained his composure very clearly this split. But again, a player who was almost replaced, doing so well at Worlds now. Now the fight continues the bot lane, the ulti coming across, and won't be too much there, as it's just going to be a dissuasion of damage. Long be forced to run away, but no summoners down.
Yeah, even though Cuz is there, when the Taric ultimate comes down, they don't want to go for any more trades. Ambition is in the river, always mirroring here, and he's ready to pounce.
Advantage for Longjuice that Arn has continued to farm up. He is still a win condition in the 4-1 later as the game goes on, and no proactive Stand Uniteds to punish them so far.
But they're very ready, and that's why Longzhu are giving them room to work with here, setting up all this vision because they have this advantage. Stand United is available, the teleport also available, and that's why Cuz is just waiting for a counter game.
Not one to be had just yet. 600 gold lead, though. Samsung Galaxy starting to grow their advantages across these roles. Cuz going to face second to Ambition. Suddenly it's going to be 4 versus 1, and there's simply no way out. Explosive cast buys a second, but it doesn't matter. First blood for Crown.
Really nice proactive ultimate usage there from Cube. He can just go back to the top side as well and not lose his turret. Wasn't sure about the damage output, but they had just enough as Lysandra came.
League of Legends, you always have to watch the cooldowns, though. It's a bit of a seesaw here, because now Longzhu have a Talia ultimate and a top lane teleport that they could use. And Samsung are left with just the teleport here from Crown.
Oh, wow! Crown, of course, ulti down for the roam over, has to get pushed out of the lane, and maybe BDD finds something for Longzhu.
The ward did see Ambition go over the back of the Dragon Pit, so Longzhu know that he's there, and they're kind of just walking over leisurely.
He's seen now, actually. He's on a trinket now. BDD roams down, says, you get off that mountain, Drake.
Yeah, they saw him go into the Dragon Pit. They knew he was in there, and because he was able to push Crown out of the mid lane, BDD can just walk over at his leisure after he took care of the minions.
And he also draws the teleport out, so another thing that is relieved pressure-wise from Longzhu is the ability for Crown to instantly join a fight bot side. Little wins that you get from pressure and turn into bigger things, but for now at least, all gold lead to Samsung.
The only way you can use little leads of cooldowns is actually using the disparity right now. As you mentioned, Samsung Galaxy losing all 3 of their globals for now. Longzhu have both of theirs, meaning the Talia Ultimate and the Khan Teleport. Again, it has to be used in the next 3 minutes or it doesn't mean anything.
And it is difficult because look at all the vision that Samsung laid down. You know, all this priority that Longzhu let them have because of the Shen Ultimate doesn't matter. Because in the end, it's Ambition waiting in the brush to ambush Cuz, and they get the easy first blood.
At time, the 2 control wards were top side, so they were set up there for a turret dive top side, but not the sort of defensive vision bot side to actually see Ambition coming. In a long time.
For a year.
16. Understandable, as I said. I believe 1 game from Kuzan on Lissandra from Jin Air, but otherwise certainly not a big pick in the meta after the last round of nerfs.
But it's fun to see what kind of innovations have been put into builds over the course of time. The Protobelt, not really that rare on Lissandra builds I can remember. And of course, cooldown boost pretty common as well. You expect to see Zhonya's Hourglass somewhere in that build, and come through afterwards. A blue up to BDD, going to be pretty easily secured. So he can keep his pressure going. Another game, obviously, full of Mercury treads when you've got Lissandra, Shen, Sejuani, Tarek. Those are all great recipients of tenacity.
Andra, double duty from the Protobelt in lane, can just use it to fast push 1 wave that previously would take multiple rounds of Q, but also is part of a burst pattern with her ultimate offensively. So it does mean that she can have lane control once out of every, say, 3 minion waves. That would be much more difficult for her otherwise.
I also love Lissandra as a champion simply because while she does have, you know, invulnerabilities that she can use, she doesn't have a large health pool with this, and she's very vulnerable to being burst down within crowd control. You know, like before you can get your ultimate off, especially if you don't have good supporting casts to help you out.
Frey going to adapt his build a little bit. Wits End first, of course, again, respecting all the magic damage first available. Crown being the most notable version of that on the Lissandra. Wants to give that one away. Also an early Ninja Tabby to keep himself alive through the same boat. So it looks like both players kind of gearing up for scaling builds, staying alive through roams and ganks. But look at this, the attempt of pressure at the bot side as we saw Crown move down. Teleport, this doesn't matter. BDD has yet to leave his lane. Now level 11 on the Talia. And really going equal in farm. Crown is just simply doing better this game than BDD, despite being on a champion. We haven't seen him play in a year, and BDD being on his most comfortable.
Very good read on the situation. Crown obviously had this in the pocket previously. They were taking away the Talia, banned away as well 1 game this series. Now just something he cooked up over the passage of time. It's one of those things where as the meta evolves, you remember, hey, actually, to be a decent situation, it's not just, hey, Lissandra counters Talia. Certainly not true, but the way they're using it fits the game plan. In the late game, big criticism for Lissandra is 1 CC and that's all she provides. When there's 3 others, Clean's not going to be a factor there.
Adaptation is so incredibly important here on the world stage. We already saw, you know, innovation take effect.
Aqua going to lose some of this one, but they could get some more of the damage on this as the ulti comes across. They're all invulnerable. Gorilla stays alive, but Frey not going to be as likely. Maybe Barrier Pop staying alive a bit longer as it re-engages here. Khan's teleport there as well, and Crown again first to the scene. BDD going to walk back to mid doing nothing.
Yeah, he's going to walk through wards here, and all of that, all of Samsung throwing everything down on the bottom lane should be answered pretty easily, and the defense right now, there should be no turrets going down. The big difference though, Shen obviously gets 2 globals because he has his own teleport, and with Cube recalling and heading right back to top lane, Khan now will be left without a way to join the next fight.
And we talked a couple minutes ago as, hey, BDD still has hold up, wait for his next bracket to play while cooldowns are down. Those cooldowns are backed up. That's why we see a second phase check here. Still no momentum or movement for there to be a Weaver's Wall usage. Nice disengaged cask from Kaz as well.
Samsung, they get the flash and barrier out of Prey, the teleport out of Khan, plus control of the bottom side. So in the end, they do get an objective, not the first turret, but they do get the mountain trade.
They were 5-1 on Summoners on that fight. We watched the top lane battle continue. Should make it 6-1. Of course, Khan uses teleport as well. So huge advantage. Mountain Drake on the backside as well. And Samsung Galaxy, every game starting to look more and more the same. They are in control from almost start to finish. And we've yet to see Longzhu be really proactive enough outside of a couple of lane kills from BDD in the first game as Khan using his ultimate to stay alive a little bit longer. Might have the damage though, with Spirit's Grave to buy some time. Killer comes in for a bit more. Keyboard also doing the flash to chase! And that could be exactly what Longzhu needed. Khan with the solo kill.
Will Ambition be able to chase him down? There's a ward here in the Tri-Bush, so the answer is no, but that is the Khan that people wanted to see on the world stage.
It took 3 games of this series, finally gets that big confidence booster of the solo kill. All of the action previously on bot side. Didn't even take a roam, was just a solo play. But that's extra information for Samsung to have to react to on the top side. And it's also the impetus for BD and Prey to start playing bot side as well.
And with some gold starting to go back the way of Longzhu, you have to caution for Samsung, while they have so many proactive tools, they have all this global pressure, all these burst tools and crowd control. Later on, once you get to the later, longer fights of the game, it will be a bit taxed to find some extra DPS. Here we go is another look at the massive healing that you get with Trundle. The ultimate, you'll be able to shred resistances. It's tons of healing back on the frozen ground there as well. He's able to turn that fight around.
All that even through Bramble Vest. Look at Kube's items. There are no new purchases there. He had Titanic Hydra and Bramble Vest last time as well. It's not getting better for the Shen. So Khan keeps stacking up again, looking for more to do. This time gonna kill the wave behind the turret. Hope to find some more pressure for Shen to wait for that easily though.
Samsung are accepting this. They have 4 control wards bot side to continue to deny BDD, making a proactive play bot side. And once again, a re-invade onto the blue buff. Weaver's Wall continues to be held onto. Second steal here.
Even for Ambition with the passive. There you go. 100 gold picked up. The blue buff once again stolen away. Samsung Galaxy. And we got a lot of pressure on this bot side. This Tristana and the rest of that squad outlaning Prey and Gorilla.
Again, you know, they have to give up this territory because while Khan is able to push past the turret, he's farming between turrets and these minion waves. That just means that Cube is free to use Stand United whenever he wants, and there's no teleport for Longzhu to answer, so effectively bottom.
Knockup is there, getting a bit lower on the Charmin. The barrier pop is going to be a re-engage back into the turret. Can they find the kills? The ulti pop for the Shen. The ultis are there, the shield. He's going to stay alive in the stun. The taunt coming across. Khan's going to drop for the first one. And look at the Goomba stomp forward. Ruler wants a bit more. BDD's wall only buys them the time to run away. 1-0 Samsung.
As we were about to say, effectively bottom lane is Shen's domain, and Samsung are able to force the fight that they want under the turret. Even though it could have been a slightly cleaner, they do get the kill. And again, instant teleport back up to top side.
May not be clean, but it's calculated. All the vision was put down. They knew they wanted to play bot side. They're denying BDD any playmaking whatsoever. And I'm looking at this Talia and being reminded of a lot of the risers we've seen earlier in this tournament who are supposed to pick up a couple of items, shove, and then roam, but they were being clogged into lane, just waypoint, watching the game be played around them. That's kind of the story with BDD's Talia this game. Samsung looked the most out of the roams last game and have shut down the roams this game.
Fully expecting to use Stand United here. They get engaged on by Gorilla, and then the Taric ultimate hits as they get knocked under the turret. Here, I wasn't really expecting Ruler to use the early Tristana ultimate, but it ended up not mattering too much as they just changed focus and they still got the kill, just killing the front line instead. But I don't know about the communication there. Maybe they would have rather had the kill onto Prey. Regardless, barrier came out and there was no burst.
It means this is still a Samsung Galaxy winning in the early game, finding the plays to be made across the map. Brown's Lysandra has Leandri's Torment done now as well. The Dark Seal and 2 stacks is not too bad as well. Infinity Edge not too far for Ruler. Scaling continues here. 2-0 team.
And even more critically than the kill that Samsung get down there is the turret kill. The first turret bonus that they get. You just see the flood of control wards go through Samsung's inventory after they base, after that fight. You know, all of the control wards to take over, rotate up to the top side, move Ruler over there, off of his extra static shiv and BF sword here. He's ready to control the minion waves, and Samsung move in to control this quadrant of the jungle.
While Khan may maintain his 1v1 matchup against Shen, it was after Shen had already pushed the minions all the way, so any sort of split push I think was going to take a lot longer to set up. More time for Samsung to get turrets very, very low, top side and mid side. Longzhu again, but this whole game in neutral must be so desperate to turn on the style like we know they can. If they can't on the day, it really means nothing.
Definitely the case here. The best of 5 is how you play on the day you play the match, and right now it's Samsung Galaxy much the superior squad. His mid lane out are going to fall as well. 2-0 on turrets. The Mountain Drake already there from a while ago. The Infernal Drake spawning in 35 seconds. Longzhu's dual lane put to the top side, but Ruler with the static shiv has plenty of wave. You can see even though he's literally alone 1v2 with the rest of his team 10 seconds away, there's no even attempt of an engage from Gorilla. They know that Trista is safe. They know Ruler's a good enough player, and he can do anything he wants.
I do think that they should reposition him maybe for this Infernal Drake, because Samsung right now are running with so much pressure. They shouldn't give up any neutral objectives. It should be very easy for them to reallocate. There we go. We see the bottom lane going back down to the bottom side. Shen will go back to the top side. And even though this time around Khan does have teleport, they've been able to eke out this lead, as well as all the controllers that we mentioned, and take control of this Infernal.
Looks like a trade though, real quick. They're leaving Prey in the top lane, and that turret was already low for all of Khan's hard work, but no one's going to help push back Kube, but Kube doesn't know that and doesn't want to contest for this turret, so it will be an outer turret picked off, although Samsung Galaxy almost by default do this Infernal.
Not often a trade you'll make at 23 minutes of Baron up, but no realistic Baron pressure there from Longzhu, so we'll get the Infernal with the high value associated with that. Roam into the mid lane. Almost no turret damage on Lissandra's turret.
There's not really any pressure. Crown's held up to the matchup quite nicely, and he's gotten out of his lane several times as well to help out the squad. As they now go for Baron pressure, of course, as you mentioned, that's been spawned. About 24 minutes into the game now already. Is top scuttle going to be there easily enough? But we can see what Samsung Galaxy want with the lane assignments now. Ruler's got the Infinity Edge power spike. He's as powerful as he needs to be. This is only green skies from here on forward for the Tristana player. Prey at least does have Rage Blade, but still no Hurricane for the triple melee. Not just yet anyway.
Lane is long. Rundle getting some damage onto the outer turret, but Jen's happy to surrender ground. Giving away an outer turret by no means is a big deal.
Leading, maybe continuing mid lane, taking a couple hundred health as well. Maybe Longzhu can start to find the split push power. You're seeing, of course, Crown top lane uncontested himself, gonna sacrifice some minions to that red turret. Khan hoping to push back Kube. It's gonna be a bit close. Hasn't popped his ult yet. Can when he goes for the all-in, no stun to be had. But again, Crown getting complete alone time top lane. BDD taking the long road over as the turret's taking more and more damage, and the minions are dying with no golden experience gained at all.
BDD has continually had to give ground here. Crown just running over the map. Ambition now also invading on red side, then they might actually find each other.
You're back up though, so for now, Longzhu are still stunted. You see Prey still in mid lane. Does not have a Hurricane complete, still went for Wit's End and the Rage Blade, still fiercely single targets, so shoving advantage for multiple members on Samsung on the Barracks.
The advantage, honestly, teleport seems to be just faster to use than Weaver's Wall, which BDD's only really used to keep his team alive and stop the chase, but now Khan has gotten into the mid lane and ulti coming across the trade of them. As the ability comes in only for a moment, now they're re-engaged on Kaz, he's gonna get low, but Pop Guild stay alive a little bit longer. Now on a Gorilla and chomp down, and that is a dead for Khan. The flash forward, the taunt is in, they're gonna get the next one as Prey is gonna fall as well. The chase continues for Ruler, getting a double for the Tristana, and Kube gets the kill on top of this one, 4 for 0.
4 clean kills here for Samsung, and that will be Baron as the reward as well. This was a multi-man flank. Ambition was coming from behind the members of Longzhu, and they immediately make the call. Teleport in, Stand United goes, and Samsung clean up.
It was a multi-step plan. They have been being able to pull off flawlessly today. They've just taken over red side control. Suddenly Ambition's behind. The kills are confirmed. BDD can only watch in horror as the team goes down, and they'll hear that blood-curdling sound of Baron dying again.
And the rope is getting shorter. The fuse burning down. This game soon to explode. 7,000 up, and you can watch this fight again. Khan cannot get enough done.
See how clogged all the members are of Longzhu compared to so many options, so much control of the top side. BDD rides in, but fight's almost always done.
Yeah, Longzhu, I mean, they make the call for Khan to come in here with the flank. He's actually the one that started out. But Samsung, they were already deep in enemy territory, as you said. Ambition was in the red quadrant, and they immediately react with the Stand United and the teleport. They were just waiting for this. It was kind of the dream for them to start out the fight this way, and they pick Longzhu apart. BDD was in the top side, nowhere to be found. Now, here come the Baroned up Samsung.
Explosive cast almost spotted Ruler, but not quite enough. Now BDD cleansing away, just barely stays alive. Will there be a re-engage? Khan getting lower and lower on health, at half HP, but gets the ulti for us to buy some time. Nice re-engage from Gorilla, but Prey so low he can barely even auto-attack. and no kills to be had, and not enough meaningful damage, and mid lane will still fall, despite Longzhu's best efforts.
Happy to keep fighting as the gold values are so low for Longzhu, for the items are there, even though it's a pretty cheap build onto the side of Prey. They keep forcing forward, they keep taking objectives, they're gonna happily cut to the bot side, take another tower.
No defense to be had. Cuvée and Ruler gonna make these attacks land. Explosive charge to hit there, and there we go. 5-2 in turrets, the 2-0 on Drakes as the Baron buff continues to push in as mid lane also under fire. Po's not gonna find anything.
So many people. We're talking. Ambition actually has got everyone after him.
He's got no flash, and there's the knock. If this could be enough to get one kill, but it would only be the second kill of the entire game because bot lane is still under fire. So though Prey gets his first kill, the inhibitor likely to fall. 5v4, teleport flank comes in for Khan. This is the big play that Longzhu needs.
They're trying to chain together the kills here. BDD has his ultimate as well for Talia.
And Khan's in this mix. Can they get Ruler gets over the wall? He's safe for this one. Cuvée might not be so lucky, but he jumps across as well. Maybe Corjay J, the one sacrifice. He does not have flash, but to only get a single kill is not enough for Longzhu.
Again, the Baron buff here. Crown pushing on top side. They get another turret. And even though Longzhu chased down 2 kills, it is just a drop in the bucket.
Longzhu were the proactive team that always forced their enemies to trade down. They were the team that would get the vision forward and profit from the vision. But they have played this series in darkness. And Samsung Galaxy, who in many games I would watch, would never put together any forward vision, have owned the vision battle and kept Longzhu just clumped together, hoping for the best.
Good filler here for Khan. They are able to chase it down, but as you point out, on the mini-map here, you see this is in trade for an inhibitor turret due to the Baron buff on those 3 members. Just kind of rapidly able to take those structures. And then again, as you know, the teleport to follow.
Shot calling from behind is very different to shot calling from ahead. From behind, we see the veteran squads like SKT and Samsung make things happen in longer games. But when you're ahead, it's very easy to call time. It's very easy to choose where the battlefield will be. They haven't been able to choose almost anything this series, Longzhu Gaming, and that's where some of the things we didn't see for the group stage, even for the LCK, is creeping in for the side of Longzhu.
We have to revisit all of the predictions here. Longzhu, so many people are already getting excited and predicting them to be able to knock over SK Telecom.
Can they win Worlds undefeated? No, it's certainly not the case anymore, of course, but you're right. That was the suspicion coming in. Longzhu, they win the LCK. Maybe they're the best team in the world. They're the pre-tournament favorites. Samsung Galaxy making them look nothing like that. The stun of the front line to follow up, not quite there, but the turret to fall.
The prediction for Longzhu to win was the one everyone made, and what we saw at Worlds, it was the right one. But this Samsung that creeps in for the big matches, that was on display against SKT after Rip Rivals, against KT Rolster, when they were the first to run Barrier Heal Ardent Sensor in Korea. They very periodically have these reads when they need to, and this is the result.
Here they go, caught outside in enemy territory.
Damage out of Ambition, stuns have already been used. The ulti's on cooldown by now, down to 1,000 HP. A flash to get some of the people pushed around. Khan stun up, flashing away from the turret. The re-engage, they're gonna find Cuvée. A bit of damage, he's gonna go back to safety. A triple knock for Gorilla. Is this the fight? BDD gets one. They're gonna find a second now for number 3. Can they force Samsung out? Of course, the junglers there, but there's no major objective to take. It's only farm for Longzhu.
But Longzhu buy themselves some time, some much needed time here as they return to their base in ruins.
Will not find objectives, but the game, the series will not end here. Big seismic shove from BDD partway through this. At the start, when they were wailing away on Ambition, it was looking all a bit sad. He's so damn tanky at this point. Surely nothing could happen, but these Korean teams, their fight backs can be impressive.
Not many options for Longzhu, so they've got to take this opening. They fight their way out. Cuvée on the outside here on Shen actually gets very low at the start of this, and once Gorilla sees his opening, the 3-member combo there opening up the kills.
Once they did not have vision in the brush, so there wasn't really target acquisition for the carries. There was no good ult target for Crown either. That was certainly not something we'd expect given how the game has gone, but it was with an inhibitor down. It's the sort of mistake you can make and not give over control to the enemy. But at least the amount of tempo Samsung had is starting to slow down.
It might fix the mental state as well of Longzhu, who've been nothing but losing ground the entire game, hoping to build it back up and fitting for Talia, try to get their ground back here on this one. 9,000 gold down, though they've got a lot of work in front of them. as the darkness continues to grow across the map. Praise Hurricane, that's an important spike for him. He's going towards Ruin King, so he will become an incredibly efficient carry in the near future. Ruin, of course, already there on 4 major items on the Tristana.
Let's talk about how Samsung, this series, have always had their AD carry an item and a half ahead of his opposition from their bot lane focus, from the smart control ward. They had this game, trivializing the roam potential from BDD. Prey greater than Ruler was one of the core tenets of a prediction for why Longzhu would win this series, but it hasn't been relevant because they've never had parity in team fight.
And so much as well due to this Shen pick. We've criticized so many teams, throughout this tournament of not utilizing the Shen pick well, not utilizing that global pressure well. But Samsung have done it so well here that they've been able to consistently invade on that blue quadrant of the jungle of Longzhu, take control, force them to give up slowly but surely small edges in that area. And now they're knocking at the door, and Khan is answering.
Looking for this one, half HP pops guilty, but how long can he stay alive? He's trying to tank up the front line. Only coming across from Varus will find a couple of roots as the Terror Gold pops as well for the invulnerability to re-engage. In comes Crown, he can't even be touched, pops the self for the slow, and the first one comes in as Trundle drops the second as well as Cuz is gone. The rocket jump forward, Ruler wants a third. They're gonna get a stun on Prey. He's to lose his life as well. Number 4 and 5 next up for the chopping block as BDD can only run away, and Opus base won't lose without him, but the rest of the team ready to push through the bot lane. The wave already pushed the inhibitor. Easy to drop. Samsung Galaxy defying expectations. 3-0 was a likely result, but not in the way you expect here. As they look to knock down BDD, he can barely wave through the protocol to land the stun, the root, the ace, and there is nothing left to stop Samsung Galaxy as they take down their first opponent. They are the first of the semifinals, and who can really stop this team?
What an impressive performance. Last year's runner-up. This year coming in with so much less excitement due to the performance in summer. Some of the key members, Crown, struggling a bit, but rallying so heavily here. Coming out with defiant strategies, executing on different team comps, utilizing Shen so well. Just so many things. Performing extremely well here for Samsung.
And casting Longzhu, because of their upstart nature, because of their young players who had not played a lot of games together, it always felt like, even with their impressive start to the season, when would the wheels come off? When will finally a team really suss them out? In certain series, KT was able to do that, but they won the title in unexpected fashion over SKT. They make it here on such a run of form, but Samsung did have the read. I said I had multiple points that Samsung needed to work on to be able to hold a candle to Longzhu. They were able to attack their weaknesses and also show us strengths they apparently didn't feel they needed to show in the group stage. They can keep these strategies cooked up and hold on to them. They've done it before. That makes it so hard to predict because you're like, maybe they don't have them. But the fact that they could bring them here in such a big match and win in as emphatic fashion as possible. 3-0. Insane.
Yeah, really incredible stuff. And it's fun because I think the win was so multifaceted. I think their drafts were very good. You heard the analysts talk about that, especially after game one, how smart these drafts were, how well it all looked. Even some of the surprise pick like Lissandra coming in saying, yeah, you finally got your Talia. That's cute. We've got this one ready for him. And Crown looked infinitely the better player in that game, even though the rest of the mid lanes had gone a bit closer through the rest of the series. That Lissandra looked amazing. And then execution-wise, absolute perfection out of this squad. The 2-on-2 looks so good in the bot lane, better in team fights as well. Cuvée, as you've been mentioning, has done so well to hold up to Khan and did so here as well. Big plays out of the Shen, the ultimates were beautiful as well. And honestly, a team that looked so much better on the day, results deserving of the 3-0. And now to hear more about that Samsung Galaxy sweep over the LCK champions, let's send it down to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. A crushing 3-0 victory for Samsung Galaxy over, again, the only remaining 1 seed from a major region and perhaps the pre-tournament favorites in Longzhu. I'm just astonishing and spectacular.
Exactly, right? It's so amazing. We all want to jump in here because it's so good.
Crown wasn't kidding. They actually were holding on to their strength. Because they showed their weakness, that meant that they
only had strength left to show. They do it with the Lissandra pick of all things. They give over that power pick in Talia for BDD, and they have the answer.
It just felt like they did it with everything, right? I mean, the fact throughout this series they're able to make
every comp work. Every play felt like it was working for them. And I think that the execution as well as the drafting was just absurd from Samsung. Like, this is such an impressive result because not only was this the overwhelming favorite to win Worlds from both players, they just got slammed. This was not even close. This is like, if Samsung squeaked by the skin of their teeth, you'd be like, oh, Samsung could probably win Worlds. They just 3-0'd them.
Exactly.
This was easy.
So many things needs to work for you. Again, you got to outdraft them. You got to outplay them as well multiple times to actually 3-0 an LCK champion. Game 2 was so one-sided. Game 3 was so one-sided as well. Only game 1 we really felt like, okay, this is super back and forth. Both teams can still win. Apart from that, like, Samsung were just far and away the better team.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the plan to answer for everything. Of course, step 1 was followed through on for Longzhu Gaming by choosing Red Side. Step 1, play perfectly. The rest of the steps not necessarily coming together, but as we take a look at this champion select, I mean, you got that Trundle matchup. So, you know, a winning matchup for Khan. Maybe, maybe it's not as hard of a carry champion as, say, the Jax that they reached for in game 1, but there was potential there.
So you get the Trundle, and right, you have a champion that can melt the tanks, and you have a split push threat, but how linear is Trundle? Very. Compared to Shen on Samsung's side, you utilize him in the bottom lane, as we saw in game 2, but now in combination with the Lissandra, the answer to the Talia, and this pick that hasn't seen the meta for so long, but she maintains such a perfect fit right now because you play mid lane, not for your CS deficit, not for crushing the other guy, but to just push roam, and answer side lanes, and perfect pick for that.
I agree, and I think honestly though the Trundle was a good pick, and I think that the Trundle was doing fine. But when the rest of the map loses, it's very hard as a split pusher to be able to actually take any advantage that you do have for yourself and get that going. And you have to also look at mid lane. You know, when did Talia ever get up to the top lane to snowball that? When did you see them executing on what their game plan was, which was very clearly get the Trundle ahead, use Talia to get up there, snowball this lane with Gragas, with Talia, you know, get this to be this dominant split pushing force. It just never happened because I think A, of Lissandra, B, how well the bot lane is going, and the fact that Ambition was able to always, it seemed like, have priority in the jungle.
Exactly, like, again, the main win condition for Longzhu all summer long, it's been mid lane priority from BDD, ability to go top and snowball your top lane, and while your bot lane stays safe and just plays 2v2 and never dies to ganks. But 2 games in a row now, we had mid lane priority going in favor of Crown. And that again is so important because it means BDD has no impact. The first game we had impact, Azael, as you called out, he threw the entire thing away.
And when we come back, I'm going to get into that matchup specifically, but we have the opportunity to talk to a couple different players on Samsung Galaxy. So in the wake of their upset win, let's go ahead and send it over to Shox, who has an interview with the victorious carry in the bot lane.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Ruler. Ruler, you guys were not very favored to win in this matchup because you were up against the Longzhu, the LCK champions who have been doing so well so far. Why do you think it was such a convincing win for Samsung today?
룰런스 우선 승리를 축하드리고요. 사실 많은 사람들은 LCK 1시드 팀인 롱주 팀이 이길 거라 예상했는데 많은 예상을 다 뒤엎고 승리 거두셨습니다. 이렇게나 압도적인 경기력으로 이길 수 있었던 원동력이 무엇이라고 생각하시나요?
일단 다전제가 되게 첫 번째 승리가 되게 중요한데 이거를 저희가 어떻게 잡아서 좀 쉽게 간 것 같기도 하고 저희가 좀 더 한타 때 집중력이 좋아서 그랬던 것 같아요.
So I think winning the first game of the best of 5 series was the most important factor, and overall I just think our team had a better focus in the team fights.
Well, you had a fantastic match as well, and that up versus Prey. What do you think of your own performance today?
특히 오늘 이제 프레이 선수 상대로 매우 정말 뛰어난 경기를 보여주셨는데요. 룰런 선수는 오늘 본인 스스로 경기를 어떻게 평가하시나요?
솔직히 첫 번째 경기 때는 제가 너무 긴장을 해서 막 한타 때도 그렇고 좀 실수하는 모습을 많이 보여드렸는데 그래도 긴장이 풀리기도 하고 이제 감독님이 너가 원딜 더 잘한다 그러니까 그냥 열심히만 잘하기만 해라 해주셔가지고 좀 잘 풀렸던 것 같아요.
So for the first game I was still nervous and I think I made some small mistakes during the team fights. But after game 1, the head coach told me that you're a better ADC than Prey, so have confidence in yourself, and that made me more relaxed, and I think I was able to perform even better.
Well, you definitely showed something today, and now not time for the final yet. You still have a tough semifinal coming up against either Team WE or C9. Who do you think you're going to end up playing, and what do you think towards that semifinal?
이제 4강전이 남았는데요. 4강 대진으로는 WE팀이나 C9팀이 올라갈 수 있는데 어떤 팀이 올라갈 것 같고 어떤 팀이 올라갈 바라시는지 말씀해 주세요.
저는 개인적으로는 W 팀이 올라갈 것 같긴 한데 그리고 제가 좀 미스틱님이 원딜 선수가 원딜을 되게 잘하시잖아요. 그래서 꼭 한번 붙어보고 싶었는데 전 W 팀이 그냥 올라와줬으면 좋겠어요. 올라왔으면.
So I think that WE has a higher chance to come to the semifinals. I think that Mystic is a fantastic ADC player, and I would like to play against him, and I'm really looking forward for that matchup.
Oh, fantastic. It will be a great matchup. Thank you very much, Ruler and Holman as well. What a victory by Samsung. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Sharks. What a victory and what a performance out of Ruler. Again, he had a tough task going up against the bot lane of Prey and Gorilla, and as was mentioned, he's looking ahead towards perhaps Mystic, who he's calling out as being a very, very solid ADC. So for him, big performance on the day, definitely performing better than what you're calling the best ADC in the world.
Yes, but I want
Shame on you, Crumps. That wasn't a dig. That was just, that was the setup.
Look at you, what happened because
we know
of that.
you hate it. We know you hate it.
Never mind that all of us call him the best. I want to highlight what he said, though, for this series, which was him thinking that the first game was the most important for the mental aspect of the game, and what the coach told him as well, that told him, you're a better AD carry than Prey. You're going to pull through. And that to me just shows that, hey, these games are so multifaceted that it's not the draft, it's not the execution, it's not how you communicate, but how you actually feel on the day and the trust you have with your teammates. And I think that the coaching staff really stepped up. If that's what I'm hearing now, I'm hopeful for Samsung in the next games.
And I think you make a really good point, because to put on a performance like this, it can never just be one thing, right? You can't just win draft. You can't just execute well with a poor draft either. It needs to be a full combination. And I think that's really what we saw from Samsung today. And honestly, I thought Ruler was being pretty humble, because I think he had an outstanding series and seriously outclassed Prey today.
But, Deficio, I want to return to that conversation now that we were having before the interview about the mid lane matchup in particular. All tournament long, we've been seeing the impact of things like the Galio and the Taliyah, along with a Shen, in affecting those side lanes, and in particular the bot lane. Well, hey, those two things get taken away from you. There are still more picks available now, as proven by Crown with the Lissandra achieving very much the same thing.
And that's the beautiful thing about these best of fives, where you had like a week to prepare, because you know a pick like Taliyah might come through. You need an answer to it, and they come up with this Lissandra here. The first time we get to see this youth doing Worlds specifically, or doing the group stage and now the bracket stage. So I like that kind of preparation, and it shows you a step ahead of the enemy team. Because clearly, there was no Lissandra answer from Longshoot. They went cleanse Orianna. They're like, I guess we just gotta win mid lane really hard, or we're done. Like, Taliyah will go sidelines. Lissandra can follow, and that was a really good answer.
And I think especially when you're already up 2-0, it makes sense to actually take a little bit of a risk like this, because even if this composition doesn't work out, you still have 2 more chances to actually go for it. So yes, there was ways that they could have lost this. Yes, they could have perhaps got outscaled if you go to super late game, with the Lissandra and the Shen and these sorts of things, but this was an execution-based comp. They were firing so well in the first 2 games, and I think it was really intelligent to take a stab like that.
This comp is actually very similar of the first game after Rift Rivals, where Samsung comes back and 2-0s SKT clean with the exact same composition, where they had Sejuani in the jungle, Tristana in the bottom lane. Back then it was support Braum, but they run Taric instead, and then you have your mid lane with Taliyah, and the top lane was kind of like a tank and a carry with Camille, but it just shows that they are so practiced with this composition that they knew it inside and out.
Now, we're going to get to talk to Kube in just a moment. Before we do, I want to take a look at this 4-0 fight out of Samsung Galaxy in the mid lane. They definitely had control of the team fight phase. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
Yeah, and I've got to say, Core JJ was so pivotal with the Taric ultimates. You know they can go aggressive with this. Ruler as well, positioning aggressively on the side. He knows that he has the support from his team, able to get so much damage out in this fight. And when he sees the opportunity to jump forward onto Prey, the game is over.
What I see here out of Samsung is immaculate communication. Nobody's going to a place where they shouldn't be. They understand, hey, one person's coming in, let's follow through, let's make sure the abilities get changed. Otherwise, that Taric flash would have just gone haywire and not been followed through.
And I thought we saw so many good examples of that through the bot lane play, through Prey, knowing that they have, when they're going in on Prey, knowing that they have the Shen ult to back them up, knowing that they have the Taric ultimate to come down. They're positioning so aggressively, but it made sense within the context of their comp, within the context of what was there to back them up.
Yeah, again, also the Shen pick itself, instead of trying to beat Khan 1v1 specifically, why don't you just win bot side? Why don't you win mid lane? And you have Shen to support you every single time. And when you can trust your top laner to always be on point with the ultis whenever he's needed to do it, it doesn't matter Khan's in the top lane because again, you just win the other sides.
Intelligent strategy with perfect execution is almost impossible
3-0.
to beat. Yep, with that said, Shox is standing by for another interview, this time with Samsung Galaxy's top laner.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Cuvée as well, who had an absolutely amazing series, and that over Khan. So first up, Cuvée, why do you think you were able to triumph over Khan so hard today?
큐 선수 승리를 축하드리고요. 오늘 이제 상대 탑라인의 칸 선수 상대로 어떻게 그렇게 좋은 경기력으로 승리를 거둘 수 있었는지 말씀해 주세요.
아무래도 탑 같은 경우에는 상성이 좀 많이 크거든요. 그래서 제 생각에는 제이스만 없으면은 제가 상성적으로 2챔프라면 2챔프라고 그런 쪽에서 좀 많이 유리할 거라고 생각해서 이렇게 잘 된 것 같아요.
So at the top lane, I think the champion matchup is the most important factor, and I thought that as long as we ban Jace, then as long as we ban Jace, then whichever champion he picks, then I was confident I can counter and play against him.
Okay, well, you had a great match, and so did the entire team. There were some question marks after group stage. What would you say changed in the week between we saw you last at group stage and this quarterfinal today?
삼성팀이 사실 조별 예선 때는 경기력이 최고조로 올라오진 않았는데 오늘 8강 때는 너무나 좋은 경기력으로 승리를 거두셨는데요. 조별 예선과 8강 사이 어떤 일로 어떻게 경기를 끌어올리셨는지 궁금합니다.
아무래도 저희가 조별 예선 때 RNG한테만 졌었기 때문에 RNG가 우리하고 좀 다른 점이 분명히 있을 거라고 생각했어요. 그래서 그 부분을 찾다가 저희가 한타를 못하는 것 같다. 그냥 한타를 잘 해보자라고 해서 이렇게 잘 된 것 같아요.
So in group stage, we only lost twice to RNG. So we thought there's something that RNG has but we don't. And after analyzing, we thought that the reason was team fighting and that we just had a bad team fighting at that point. So we focused on improving our team fighting throughout the break, and the practice was pretty successful.
Yeah, and the team fights were on point today, so thank you very much. Congratulations, Cuvée. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shox. And while the entirety of Samsung stepped up to earn their spot in Shanghai, we'd like to recognize one player who was crucial in finding that series win. So player of the series is being awarded to Crown in the mid lane.
And one of the most important things when you play against Longstreet is controlling mid lane. Stop BDD from going to Khan's lane or going down to the bot lane and snowball play. And Crown did that, especially in Game 2 and Game 3. His Talia was one of the best Talias I've ever seen in a single game. And then the Lissandra counterpick he finds as well in the third game.
But it's also one of the most important things out of Samsung last year when they had that great run to finals. It was off the back of Crown being such an impressive mid laner with his Victor, just showing up now, the Talia, his pick, and innovating on top of that.
You've got to say, even with the Malzahar game, obviously went pretty poorly early on, but he was able to get back into the game. Thanks to some help from BDD, but all to his credit, he did very well in the team fights later. He was able to help him control around Baron. He was a very significant factor, even in game number 1.
And I think his story during the summer split is so interesting because it was a really bad split from Crown's side. Like, a lot of teams found success in camping him, killing him early, and Bastion would never help him. Samsung would just lose mid-control. The fact he's bouncing back now for Worlds is so important because he can be and he will be one of the best mid laners.
You took the words out of my mouth in a sense, because I was going to talk about this guy's journey throughout his career has had many ups and downs, and for him to have, you know, a setback in the summer split, but be returning to form at just the right time, you know, looking to eclipse their finals performance from last year.
Like, it was so bad during summer that they had to legitimately give up picks like Zach and Caitlyn to first pick his only viable mid laner, which was Orianna at the time. He had one champion that he was not chain feeding on like 4 weeks ago, and now, well, he just smothers BDD.
Only fitting then that we hear from the man himself, who's standing by with Shox to discuss his win.
Thank you very much, guys. And how could I not talk to Crown after that monster performance? Crown, your AD carry ruler said that a lot changed for you guys after game 1. You realized you could take it. Could you tell me how you felt before the series and how that changed for you as the series went on and after that game 1?
이전 인터뷰에서 룰러 선수가 1경기 이후에 많은 팀원들이 긴장을 풀고 더욱 좋은 경기력을 보셨다고 얘기하셨는데요. 크라운 선수는 이제 경기 시작 전이랑 경기 진행하면서 마음가짐이 어떻게 변했는지 말씀해 주세요.
저는 경기 시작 전부터 계속 그냥 시작 전이 아니라 며칠 전부터 그냥 준비하면서도 그냥 떨어지면 떨어지는 거고 올라가면 좋은 거고 약간 그런 식으로 마음을 비우고 해서 별로 긴장도 없었고 뭐 흥분도 별로 되지 않는 대신 이제 이기니까 엄청 기분은 좋은 것 같습니다. 네.
So before the match, even a couple days before, I thought that I shouldn't be too attached to the results, but just put my best into it. So I wasn't too nervous coming to the series. but definitely winning feels much better right now.
Well, when I talked to you at the group stage, you were very careful about thinking about a possible final or going further, but how would you say your confidence is now that you've beat BDD and beat the LCK champions that were rumored to maybe win the whole thing?
조별 예선 때 인터뷰에서 결승전 가고 더욱더 좋은 성적을 거두겠다 말씀하셨는데 이제는 실질적으로 LCK 1시드 팀 롱주 팀 꺾고 BDD에서 꺾은 상황에서는 더욱더 자신감이 있을 것 같은데요. 지금 현 크라운 선수랑 삼성팀의 자신감이 어떨지 말씀해 주세요.
지금 저 개인적인 저의 뭐 자신감 이런 거는 딱히 없는 것 같아요. 그냥 어떤 상대를 만나도 내가 최선을 다 했으면은 뭐 저도 상관없고 이겨도 상관없어 약간 그런 마인드라서 그런 뭐 자신감 부분은 잘 모르겠어요. 그냥 그리고 뭐 저희 나머지 팀원들은 뭐 다 오늘 승리를 하기 전도 그렇고 하고 후도 굉장히 자신감이 오른 것 같습니다. 네.
So for me personally, I think my mindset is the same as group stage. That I just think regardless of who I play against and what the result is, I should just put my best into it. And for my teammates, I'm sure that their confidence is way higher compared to the group stage as we beat Longzhu.
Okay, finally, maybe you're always very careful in talking, but are you at least a bit proud of what you showed today? Because you had a monster performance, Crown.
사실 크라운 선수는 항상 되게 겸손한 모습으로 많은 그런 인터뷰를 하셨는데요. 그래도 오늘은 롱주 팀을 꺾고 정말 좋은 경기를 보여주셨는데 본인 스스로에게 그래도 좀 좋은 평가를 내려도 되지 않을까요?
뭐 게임 전체적인 부분에서는 괜찮은 플레이를 좀 했다고 생각은 하는데 그래도 이제 뭐 1대1 상황이나 2대2 상황이나 이런 부분에서는 실수가 많았기 때문에 뭐 좀 자신감 부분은 자신감? 그런 부분은 좀 떨어지는 것 같아요. 네, 이런 부분 인터뷰에서. 네.
So even though I might have played a somewhat good performance for this series, I still think that I made some mistakes during the 1v1 and 2v2 small fights. So since there's area of improvement, I still want to be a bit more humble during interviews.
All right, always humble, but always performing. Thank you very much, Crown. Congratulations, and back over to you guys.
Wants to be more humble, but definitely doesn't need to be more humble. I mean, he played like a monster today, deserved every moment of the spotlight that he's receiving right now.
And yet he's the kind of player who can always find one or two mistakes, being like, that could have been slightly better. I mean, he had such a great game, and one of the main reasons they actually get this 3 series. He should be super proud.
Yeah, well, okay, 3-0 series. Let's also remember that this is how Samsung Galaxy started their run in the knockout stages just last year. 3-0 first series in the quarterfinals, 3-0 in the semifinals. Looking strong, looking only to get stronger.
To be fair, though, it was such an easier bracket last year.
It was
going
C9.
up against Cloud9, and then it was the H2K semifinals who had beaten ANX. So people were like, it's just kind of a free path to finals for Samsung. The real finals was Rocks versus SKT. It's going to be easy, once you actually get to that grand final, but they pushed it to game 5. They almost took it that year. This year, coming in again, we've underestimated them, right? They didn't have the best group's performance. Against the heavy tournament favorite, they looked extremely dominant.
It's just hard to say if it's people underestimating them because we look at a tape, right? Mm-hmm. And we look at from summer split, we look at from the group stage, and we see a lot of issues, we see a lot of mistakes, and then obviously we have to kind of assume that Longzhu are going to be the better team in a BO5 like this. But then the 1 week you have, or the 3-4 days you have to prepare, is where the best teams in the world can just really kick it into an extra gear and figure out a great draft and really execute on the day.
It's not just tape for Samsung though. When you look at the results that they have amounted, regardless of their opponent, every single tournament has been improving for the last year and a half. And so now, since last year's was a second place finish at Worlds, this kind of performance is a game-winning performance for the entire tournament. And if they keep this up, they're looking like favorites.
Final point here.
I would contest that a little bit if you're saying it's an improvement in LCK Summer from Worlds last year, right? Where they did get third. They're
I'm
not
comparing it to results of last LCK Summer to LCK Summer.
This is the nuance, but let's push ourselves forward. Our first quarterfinal match is set in stone, so let's go ahead and pull up the bracket and see what else this weekend has in store. We return tomorrow with the reigning champions, SK Telecom T1, taking on Misfits from the EU LCS. Then RNG hope to be the first LPL team to earn a spot in the semifinals versus Fnatic, with Team WE squaring off against Cloud9 to close out the weekend. Now, before we go, as we're saying goodbye to Longzhu, they end their
their journey here at Worlds. I do want to talk about this team for a brief moment. Celebrate, one, their achievements, but two, talk about how they might reframe their mindset and look towards that 2018 season.
I want to draw parallels to the Coup Tigers. When this team came about and just smoked the LCK, was looking like the most dominant team in the world, and then they lost the IAM tournament. They got pegged back down to reality, and now I think that's what happened to this team. They'll go down, but they will eventually rebuild back up and give us new heights.
I think with Longshoot, the fact that they've now had a full summer split with this lineup, they now had a Worlds tournament as well, where they get to play in a quarterfinal. It's a lot of valuable experience for Khan, for BDD, and for Cuz especially. Like, we could see the jungle mid synergy, or the jungle mid players weren't as ready as a crown and as an ambition in this series here. And these guys have obviously done it before on the side of Samsung. I think Longshoot, the experience is very valuable as long as they stay together.
And I think it's going to be so interesting to see if they keep their unique style, right? Is it still Khan as this carry style top laner, focused on him, or do they go back to the drawing board and try to start over?
Or do they broaden their playbook, right? There's so many answers, we'll have to wait till next year to find out. Now for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for Worlds tonight, where Shocks will be joined by Papa Smithy and Deficio to review that series and look towards the remaining quarterfinal matches. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds 2017. Good night.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift, ladies and